All right, we should be live. Are you live, Spencer?
I'm live. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Sweet. Well, welcome to what may be one of the greatest podcasts on earth. I am live with Starter Pack. This is actually my father, believe it or not. And anything tech, anything AI, anything in the world of technology, he's your guy. Go subscribe to Startup Pack. He's a legend. He's my dad. He's taught me everything I know. He's awesome. So I'm here with him. We're going to be streaming Elon Musk's XAI live stream tonight, where he'll be introducing Grok 4. And you have your normies like me. I'm going to be asking my dad a bunch of tech questions. So if you don't know a bunch about technology, this is for you. If you know a lot about technology and you want an expert opinion, this is also for you. You guys are in for a treat. I think we'll have a fun time tonight. And yeah, Spencer, the floor is yours. What do you got?
Awesome. Well, I want to introduce McKay. McKay is awesome. He is teaches me a ton about finances. I get to work and watch him. He's amazing. He's got a stack of licenses. I can't even list them all because the guy's like awesome. He is the COO for Kevin and his group and for House Tech. I think we're okay to say all that, right? Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Awesome. I have to be really careful on my channel. I don't have to be that careful, but I know McKay has to be kind of careful what he says because regulatory stuff. So, anyways. We already got some questions in the comments here, so I'm just checking these comments really quick.
Are you able to put the? So we're going to be working out a little of some of like the technical features because we're like co-streaming and we're streaming out to each other's audiences, so it's kind of cool. We're learning a little bit about tech as we go here. Are you able to put comments up as well?
Yeah, I can actually see the comments. I'm just on my channel on the YouTube Live Studio. I can actually see comments over here as well.
But inside StreamYard, can you highlight comments and put them on screen?
No.
Got it. Okay. So if you see a comment that you want me to highlight, just let me know.
Oh, maybe I can. I wasn't on the comment. Yeah. No, I cannot highlight them. But
it isn't. You can't. If you hover over it, does it say show? Okay, that's fine. Just so you guys know, we'll be streaming it. So once Elon's fashionably late, like always. We love the guy, but he's fashionably late. Once he starts streaming the event, we'll start watching it. My dad and I would be watching this. Like if we were in the same room, we'd be watching this regardless. And so it's kind of cool to be able to watch it with you guys. And we're going to kind of give our commentary about what Elon's doing. Is this Grok 4? Is this going to be OpenAI's worst nightmare? All that stuff. We'll dive into it all. So let's go ahead and see. I don't have anything from Elon as for the live stream yet, but Spencer, what should we be looking for? Why is Grok 4 going to be different? Is this okay? XAI just tweeted the Grok 4 live stream will begin soon. Stay tuned. So while we're waiting for it, what should your average person be paying attention to when it comes to XAI and Grok 4?
So let's jump in here and talk a little bit about Grok 2 to the transition to Grok 3. Grok 2 to Grok 3 was super good, right? Grok 2 was really good, and it took a long time for the APIs to catch up with the Grok 3 that you got in the chat. I actually think Grok 3 is probably the best of the closest thing that we have to Gen AI right now. Now, I don't use it in any of my commercial products. One of the reasons why is just too prohibitively expensive. The API is really expensive. I did a test pilot on it one time and I got amazing results, but the cost was over $300 a day for a bare small test, like something that I would call like a POC level test, and it was $300 a day. So the cost is just absurd. Plus, it's a total black box. You have absolutely no control with knobs or dials over anything. And so when the Grok 2 to Grok 3 transition, they released 3 into the chat and then the app, and then the API came later. My guess tonight is they're going to announce Grok 4. It'll probably be available in X as well as in the Grok app itself. It is really good. Grok is really good. And if you want my opinion on the way that Elon is solving this problem, one of the big things that he's able to do that literally nobody else on this planet can do is he is doing complete brute force. There is nobody on the planet who has as many H100s stacked into server farms as much as XAI does. They literally have more GPU processing power than any other entity on the planet. And so because of that, I think they're just truly brute forcing it. Now, I haven't got to do a ton of research on what the heck happened with Grok 3 last night. And Grok 3 went a little wild last night. We're not really totally sure what happened. They haven't really announced a lot as far as I've seen yet. So I'm going to definitely do a deep dive into that. But so my guess is what we're going to see is another incremental improvement from Grok 3 to Grok 4, right? And as they go from Grok 3 to Grok 4, I still think it's going to be really good. I don't think that I don't think you're going to see the API release for some time yet. And when you do, it's going to be really expensive. So anyway, that's kind of my initial knee-jerk take on what we're seeing with Grok 3 versus Grok 4 tonight.
Have you seen the rumors that in the summer Tesla software update that Grok will be included?
I think it'll be interesting to see what they use Grok for. Is it going to be just, hey, let's talk with Grok while we're in the Tesla, right? And as I've said on my channel, both of us drive Model 3s. Both McKay and I drive Model 3s. We both have FSD. Both of us let FSD. Like, I need one of the bumper stickers on my car that says I'm probably not driving because I pretty much let the Tesla drive me now. So if you want to talk about what, in my opinion, is the closest thing we have to AI, it's actually sorry, one of those comments just threw me off. One of the closest things we have AI is actually FSD. Now, what actually is FSD? It's actually not AI. It's actually really, really, really large machine learning, right? The way that the models work, and so I don't think we're going to see Grok go into the FSD or into any of that. I think they might just have a little button for you to be able to ask Grok questions. But we'll see.
It's going to be sweet. I'm looking forward to it. To kind of, it would be cool to kind of be able to talk to Grok like we do now. Like if you're on a walk or thinking about a business idea, if you're like on a long drive and being able to have those conversations, that's one of my favorite features, being able to talk to the AI. Again, if you guys are just tuning in, Startup Hack, this is my father. Everything tech, everything AI. He's your man. He's awesome. We're going to be watching the XAI live stream. They'll be presenting Grok 4 tonight. Elon will be there. It was supposed to start at like 9 p.m. PT, and then it was like 8 p.m. Like the times keep shifting. So yeah. I don't know what they're doing. Elon's fashionably late.
I'm actually in Detroit right now on a client meeting. And so I'm actually East Coast with them. So it's really weird to me too that it's like 11 p.m. because it feels like it's 8.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what this is going to be like. So what are your thoughts? Like, I don't know if this is too much in your wheelhouse, or if it is, I don't really know how much you dive into this, but what are your thoughts on Nvidia hitting a $4 trillion market cap today? First company to ever have a market cap of that size. Like, is this a market where Nvidia can't, like, obviously not talking about financial things here, but in terms of selling products, are they going to keep selling GPUs? Are they going to be able to keep selling their products? Are people going to keep investing into AI, or are we going to see the bubble burst like a lot of people are afraid of?
So Nvidia is the one who is selling shovels in the gold rush, right? They aren't selling gold, they're selling the shovels. And the interesting thing about Nvidia, and I'll give you a little bit of background here. Nvidia started their run during the crypto phase, right? So the crypto bubble is where we saw Nvidia run. And what was really interesting about that is as soon as I'm not going to say the crypto bubble burst, but kind of the Web3 bubble burst a little bit, right? So we saw kind of this cooling of GPUs that you needed for crypto. As that happened, guess where all that GPU power went? AI. We would not have AI today if there had not been a crypto bubble before it.
So do the bubbles multiply? With Bitcoin hitting an all-time high today, are the bubbles going to compound upon each other? Or like, I mean, Bitcoin hit an all-time high. You have AI costs all-time high. They keep introducing new features, new products. You had OpenAI announce a new browser today. Like, is this going to keep going, or is the bubble going to burst? Like, I can't tell.
So let's talk about what a bubble burst means, right? A bubble burst means right now everybody was going for AGI, right? 6-8 months ago, all you heard was AGI, right? Now, Grok 4 tonight might be one of the closest things we actually see to AGI, just simply because of the volume and scale. Now, I don't think we're actually still near AGI, but I think it's because of the sheer volume of data, the sheer volume of CPU power or GPU power. And again, who do you think's funding those GPU power? It's Nvidia. So if there's a Grok 4 announcement tonight, it means Elon's just dumped like crazy, absurd amounts of money, like more money than most countries' GDPs into building Grok 4.
That's crazy. And to what end? Like, why is this worth it to XAI? Is it going to be like a first to market, like first to AGI takes all, or why are they dumping? Like, when are they going to see people that are investing to Twitter? Like, obviously we saw the CEO of Twitter leave today. We still don't know why. Elon kind of gave her a cold shoulder, like, thanks for your hard work. With what we, like, you and I had an offline chat a few hours ago, she just wasn't bringing the ad revenue in. And I think Elon was like, if you're not bringing the company money, then like, I don't know. So at what end does does Grok 4 start making XAI their money back?
Well, a couple of things here, because I could go like 4 directions with this comment. But one of the very first things to note is that there is massive FOMO, and it's an arms race right now to be the first person who can actually claim AGI. Whoever does wins that. It's kind of like people have been trying to chase renewable energy. What's it called? Like the
Fusion?
Blossom. Like, yeah, fusion. Thank you, fusion energy for years. Because if you get fusion energy is free, right? AGI is gonna be kind of the same thing, because once we get this AGI, this thing that can actually think, can emulate itself, can build on itself. So there's this mass rush, and it's the reason you see nearly $1 trillion being dumped into trying to build AGI. There's a massive amount of FOMO. Now, why is Elon Musk doing it? I think Elon Musk played 4D chess, if you want my opinion here. What he did was he bought Twitter. We won't go into a lot of drama about that. He bought Twitter, kind of was forced into a price he didn't want to. He then started to build XAI, seeing the valuations that were out there. And now we're seeing XAI buy Twitter or buy X, right? And in that, he's playing this 4D chess, and all of a sudden he's figured out how to pay for X, pay for his Twitter purchase with XAI.
Got it.
Because the valuations on AI companies right now is so high. Because your original question was, how do they get to revenue? They don't. Like, Grok's not going to make this money. But together, the valuation of XAI and X together will make his $44 billion he had to spend on X all worth it.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a really good way to. He's probably thinking like, crap, I just spent 44 billion. How do I make it back? Wait, I have all of these. I literally have one of the largest language platforms known to man. Like, there's got to be something I can do with this. He has the compute, and he has the compute, the knowledge, the experience of Tesla behind him. I'm sure the Tesla engineers float around wherever Elon needs them. I know that Tesla engineers were at the X headquarters quite a bit at the beginning, but it seems like X is a fairly stable platform now. Except for what happened to Grok last night. I don't really understand what happened to Grok on a technical basis, like why it went out. Like, I don't know if they were testing Grok 4 or what happened, but Grok 3 did some pretty crazy things last night. And then the next day, the CEO departs. I don't know, kind of weird.
There's definitely something fishy going on there for sure.
Like,
I don't think those are coincidences.
Yeah. So I'm fascinated to see what Elon's going to present tonight. Again, if you guys are just tuning in, my name is McKay. This is my dad's startup hack. He has a super large audience when it comes to tech. I do make YouTube videos for fun. I like to talk about business. I like to talk about finance. I like to talk about real estate. I've always loved YouTube. And my dad and I would be watching this at home regardless. And so we figured, why not live stream it? So XAI has said that the Grok 4 live stream will start soon. There's been a ton of change with the times. So at least they acknowledge that it'll be happening soon. That was 13 minutes ago, but that's kind of where we're at. So do you think, have you done a dive into OpenAI's new browser yet at all? Or why will the browser be different than ChatGPT?
So the browser is an interesting take. Now, I've been a huge fan for about 1.5 years now that I've been plugging on my channel to say that the space to win here is those small language models. So we talked about the bubble bursting. What you're going to see when something this big as like AGI bursts, you see people start to niche down, right? They niche down into specific things. Without the large models, we can never have the small models. So the browser requires a small model to be able to run in the browser to run on your computer, right? Now, in OpenAI's case, absolutely every stitch of that is going back to the mothership. What we're going to see is a lot of copycats come out of the woodwork and start to build small models into browsers. So I guarantee you're going to see a 5.4, which is Microsoft's, in Edge very soon, right? Like, OpenAI is not patenting putting an LLM in a browser. There's been a handful of them out there already. Brave has been playing with one, and a couple of others have been playing with one. But when you're OpenAI and you have nearly $1 trillion at your fingertips, why not, right? They want to be able to go after this. And right now, this is the special. There's another. The timing on this isn't coincidental either, because remember, the Justice Department could come out any day and force Google to sell Chrome, which would then force a browser war that would then make things really open. And remember, OpenAI has been setting records for its user acquisition over the last year. And so as they've been setting those user acquisitions, why not stick them into a browser, right?
Something I would think is kind of funny is Microsoft might be kind of butthurt right now because they have an equity stake in OpenAI. So they're like, can you please revive our browser, please?
Microsoft has a lot of reasons to be butthurt between their relationship with OpenAI.
Yeah, it's a disaster. So again, we're waiting for Grok, the Grok 4 live stream. Elon is fashionably late, like always.
You gotta highlight some of these comments here. Great, another browser war. That I agree with that. I'm not really excited for it. I like Chrome. I don't really want another browser war.
Yeah, totally.
I want to kind of hit one of the comments too. It says OpenAI is falling apart. Meta made alpha plays.
Oh yeah, wait. Let me. Yeah. Where is that comment? I'm looking for it.
I don't know. It's in here. Unfortunately, it won't let me highlight the comments because this is your stream technically. So.
Got it. Okay.
So somebody in the comments also said Grok behaved like that because it uses Twitter X as RAG also, and people keep tagging it in their replies. It's also used, I just wrote past it. It also uses all these information to RAG systems without any guardrails. I actually agree with that. So I think it's actually one of the things that so that one. I actually think that's one of the things that's going to get, it's both going to be one of its Grok's superpowers as also one of its kryptonite. Because the more people tag, so I'm just going to be kind of blunt with my thoughts on this. Elon is working really hard to make sure Grok is not woke, right? Like, let's just be blunt. He wants to make sure Grok is not woke. Part of what happened last night is Grok suddenly went woke. I don't know why, if it's because a ton of people, like Razul's here is saying, because a lot of like woke people started tagging Grok and suddenly it got like flooded with it. They could have been like a huge kind of DDoS attack with flooding it with a whole bunch of stuff, because his point's right. McKay, we've been studying about RAG a lot lately, right? So if you think about RAG, and if you think that that's what's feeding into the context, right, that feeds into Grok, and it's everything on X, in theory, if you were to flood Grok with millions of some pieces of data, you could tip the scale. And I almost wonder if they were actually trying to test that last night for Grok 4. This is all guesses, right? Like, this is all totally supposition. But they could have been trying to test, like they might have been doing a security test against it last night, and they may have broken it. Yeah. They might have been brute force testing it, and they might have broken it.
Crazy.
So Razul could be totally right. Like, and I think he may be right on to something. But it also is what's going to, go ahead.
I have a huge finish this because I'm going to change topic. I have a huge question in the AI space, but finish what you're talking about with RAG.
Well, I just think that in the end, everybody's clamoring for training data right now. The biggest commodity right now is training data. Okay, we've even been talking about this in some projects, right? The training data is what's going to make or break apps right now. Well, think of the amount of training data that X has right now, every minute of every day.
Yeah, and I mean,
and the community.
What X has, because Tesla records all of those cameras. So you have X, you have Tesla. I don't know what kind of data they have at SpaceX that could be used in an AI, but I'm sure SpaceX benefits somewhere.
What do you think about Starlink?
Oh yeah, Starlink's incredible. So it's just the amount of data that Elon has is crazy. But guess who may have more data than Elon? Which leads right into my next question. Why is Mark Zuckerberg paying such a pretty penny going after OpenAI executives, which I know has been disputed, but what has been undisputed is he's poaching Apple executives, and he's paying them so much money. He's paying them more than what Tim Cook is being. The only person that makes more Apple than what Mark Zuckerberg offered was Tim Cook. So why is Mark Zuckerberg going after all of Apple? Like, why is Mark Zuckerberg making such a big push? Is it like this group of friends and one feels left out and whoever can spend the most money wins? What's going on?
Well, so in my opinion, Mark Zuckerberg is $61 billion in on metaverse, which he's kind of now slowly morphed into Llama, right? Which is their AI plan. Right now, Zuckerberg has absolutely nothing to show for the $61 billion he's spent on the metaverse. Literally nothing. There's nothing to show for it. So he literally is at the poker table and he is shoving his chips all in. He is going all in. I'm going to go steal all the talent. I am going, what are they calling it? The super intelligence team or something like that,
yeah.
right? And so I'm going all into those because it's what I was talking about earlier, McKay, where I was saying this is a total FOMO. It is a race to see who can hit the closest to AGI. And it's the reason, I mean, I think if I remember the numbers correctly, I'll go look it up here for a second, but Grok 4, I think it was trained on 200,000 H100s. 200,000. Those, I know for my cost, if I went to try to go buy one of those, I can't get them for under 35 grand.
But this is money that Elon is just spending on people. Like, what is his plan? Is it just going to be another chatbot? Like, what is Mark Zuckerberg trying to build that will be different? Because we have all of the chatbots. We have, sorry, not the chatbots, but you have the LLMs where it's like, oh, well, run this analysis on data, or you have the Cursor, you have Claude, you have GPT, you have all of these different LLMs. What does Mark Zuckerberg have up his sleeve that isn't incentivizing him to spend this much money?
You have to highlight Twisted Mangoos's comment. They're late because they're showing Grok the JFK video, so he stays online.
Gotta scare him straight.
Oh, you guys are entertaining me. I love my followers. So why? I mean, it's the same reason. They're just trying to grab. I mean, somebody said it here too. Meta's a $1 trillion company. $60 billion is not at all. They're right. You're really right. It's pocket change.
I just want to know the product that they're gonna build. Like that's what I'm kind of wanting to see. Is like I don't even
actually think I don't think Mark knows. I don't even think he knows. I think he literally wants to just. I don't think he wants to be the smartest person in the room anymore. I think he's literally trying to go grab every smart person around AI that he can and shove them in a room and say, build me something that's going to make me rich, or build me something that's going to be freaking cool. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't care about being rich. He's already rich. Like, he just cares about winning. This is about winning.
Let me show you this tab. So one of the guys that is working at X said he just tweeted this 6 minutes ago. We need a few more minutes. It's doing it again. I don't know what that means. I'm kind of scared. I don't really want to see like.
I don't know either.
What if like Elon put Grok and Optimus and they're like trying to like cage it or something like Godzilla or something? I don't know.
So Enjoy just said he's waiting. Speaking about Mark Zuckerberg, he's waiting to hatch all of his talent reptile eggs sprawled all over the world for global domination. It actually is a little bit about that though. Actually, like I think Enjoy is trying to be funny, but the reality of the matter is it's actually about that. For guys like Zuckerberg, it's not about money. It's about winning. They want the domination. They want to be the first one to say they hit AGI.
Yeah.
And so, what they can do with it.
So why isn't FSD perfect yet? I know it's kind of like a 180, but why is it taking FSD so long to get perfect?
Because Musk has told us it's a harder problem to solve than he thought. And and so Andre Karpathy just recently gave a talk at Y Combinator, and he actually mentions that too. He said that when he very first started, what convinced him to come to Tesla was somebody took him in a Waymo and they showed him how well it worked. And he was like, well, crap, if Waymo's this close, Tesla's got to just be right around the corner. That was 2012. He said it's then 13 years later and they still haven't done it. And he said it's because it's a harder problem to solve than they thought it was going to be. And he said, if you think AGI is anywhere, if we're anywhere near AGI, just think how much harder any kind of these problems are than driving. Driving's pretty easy.
Yeah.
And it's taken them this long. And this is Andre Karpathy, who's one of the best minds in AI.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if Mark is going to try to poach Andre, or do you think he's done with the corporate life?
No, Andre's done. Andre's moved on to what he wants. I have my own sneaky suspicion of what I think Andre is trying to solve education.
Got it.
I think he's going after the universities. It's my opinion.
Yeah.
We know he's doing something in education. He's been a little tight-lipped about it. He mentioned it in his talk at Y Combinator. And so we do know that it's something around education. I think he's going to try to take on the universities. I think he's going to try to bring down universities.
That would be crazy. So if
I think it's right. I think it's right to happen.
Yeah. So if you guys are just joining in, obviously I'm here with Startup Hack. He knows just as much as anybody else regarding tech, AI, anything in the tech sector. Also is fairly business savvy himself. And he is joining me here tonight on this XAI live stream where Elon Musk will be presenting Grok 4 to the world. And we've just kind of been, we were told 8 p.m. The time has changed like 3 or 4 times, but we were told 8 p.m. And then we were told just a few minutes ago that something's happening with Grok again. It's going to be a few more minutes. So I don't know if that was supposed to be funny, but as you can see here, one of the people that works at XAI. Oh, I think, did he delete that tweet?
Get down. That's funny. Elon probably ran and said, "Get that road." Do you want to be next? Wait, what's her name? The guy. He's like, "Do you want to be
Linda?
next?"
Yeah, Linda.
Yeah. Do you want to follow Linda out the door?
That's freaking funny. Yeah, so we're waiting for the live stream to start. We're not just trying to waste your guys' time. But yes, this is my father. I am his son, and this is stuff that we've always talked about. We just love tech, and we love anything that comes with business. We followed Elon since the launch of the Model 3, and we've been fairly close to Elon, and so it's fun to kind of be able to do this as a father-son duo and hang out.
Somebody just said there's a Grok 4 live demo page on X.
Okay, well let's go to XAI. I'm a little scared to do this live. That good thing I did not share my screen yet. Yeah, let's just go to, it's x.ai. That's why. Okay, so let me share my screen. This is the XAI site. So it still says Grok 3 here.
Yeah, you're right.
Not seeing any, maybe you have an early access. I don't know. Don't see a Grok 4 yet, but I'm also not signed into the app or anything like that. They're probably doing like app users first.
Well, that's a good point. Let me pull up my phone really quick and see.
Pull up
I'm a very heavy Grok user.
Okay, I haven't used Grok too much. I've been pretty on the Claude grind. I've been liking that. But I was thinking.
So I use all of them.
Huh?
I use all of them. Yeah. Do you want me to go give you my rundown on what I use for what?
What do you use for what?
Okay, so Claude, I use anything that's going to be word-based, right? Like if I'm going to actually do, like if I need a legal document, Claude kicks butt.
Okay.
So actually today I was working on an application for something. I was working on a financial application, and somebody sent me a PDF and said, "Hey, fill this out." And I said, "You don't have a fillable PDF?" They said, "No." And I was like, "It's 2025. You don't have a fillable PDF? What the heck?" Yeah. So I took it, dumped it into Claude. Claude immediately returned me out, or immediately in a minute or two, returned me out an HTML page that was fully formed of the exact same thing as the fillable. I then opened the HTML page, filled it out using my keyboard, and then hit print as PDF and sent it back to them. Wow. So Claude's great for that kind of stuff. Claude Code obviously is fantastic. And so, but then I use Gemini Live or Gemini Pro 2.5 for a lot of coding based stuff. Claude seems to be a little bit better with C#. Gemini Pro 2.5 is going to be better on front end and JavaScript from my experience.
Okay.
And then for Grok, anything I'm going to do deep research, I dive into Grok. And again, my bias is going to show here a little bit, but like I'm definitely not a woke fan. And so I like doing my research on Grok because I know it's going to keep me out of the woke corners. Whereas I see in the Google and Claude both, the woke agenda creep in all the time.
Gotcha.
Those are my three. Those are the big three I use.
And what's your thoughts on Cursor as like a code helper? What's your favorite coding one? You like Cursor?
Cursor's fantastic. It works really well. I highly recommend every software developer learn how to use AI. I know a lot of people think on my channel that I'm hating on AI. I don't. I'm just an AI realist. I'm not an AI hater, but I'm not necessarily an AI lover. I am a lover probably. I've used a ton of it, as I just exhibited. But the biggest thing is I'm a realist. I don't think it's going to bake you breakfast, and I don't think it's going to give you a $50 million company overnight.
Yeah.
And so I'm what I call a self-proclaimed AI realist. And as Marcus Rich is out here, he said Cursor is goated. Cursor is goated, but if you were to hand even a junior developer Cursor, all they do is write a whole bunch of really bad code. So
yeah.
Ooh, can you ask if he thinks OpenAI will beat Claude or Google for software development? So Hey, Tristan, by the way. So the big, I think OpenAI, absolutely not. I think OpenAI is already getting their butt kicked by Claude, by Google, and even by Grok. It kind of depends also what stack you're talking about too, right? But OpenAI to me is absolute trash. I think OpenAI is the Antichrist. I think they're the devil. I think whatever bad name I can call them. I think they're terrible. I would never hand them a stitch of my data. Never, ever, ever. Wait, is that?
It's not live yet. It's beginning soon.
Okay.
I finally found a link.
So Tristan, Claude Code is fantastic. Google Gemini Pro 2.5 is also really good. You can use it both in Claude as well as in Cursor, and I would definitely recommend using both. It really is going to come down to which one. I want to see Marcus. Marcus has a really good comment there. He says that I'm an AI architect in real life, and I agree. Cursor with a junior is silly, but that is why I love Sonar Cube, Gates, and use Sonnet 4 and AWS for AI code reviewing and GitHub. I totally agree with you, Marcus. The funny thing about it is what it's actually doing is it's actually dividing the good developers who know how to use AI really well, and it's making them more powerful. And what it's doing is separating the really bad AI developers who are using AI as a crutch. And it shows, and it really just shows how bad of a developer they are. But I agree with that stack. But you got to admit, Marcus, that setting up that stack takes a fair amount of work. Like, it's not trivial. I've set up Sonar Cube 2 or 3 different organizations. It's not trivial. Kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah. Let's see. So we're waiting for the Grok for. Yeah. Grok was hailing something else last night.
Yeah, it was. It's true.
Okay, so you guys are great. Keep the questions coming. We're just waiting for the live stream to kick on here. I might need to kick my AC on.
Fell asleep for a bit. Do you think Nvidia, if you want to highlight that last comment, do you think Nvidia is using false practice funding companies using only their hardware, creating false demands? It's an interesting case. So I know a lot of the times in the past, so I'm wearing a Clean Router shirt. It's a company that we run that sells filtering routers for people. At one point, we tried to raise money for it. I was trying to raise $1 million, right? Trying to raise $1 million for it. I probably had half of the VCs that I went and pitched to said, yeah, sure, we'll invest $250,000 in your company, but $125,000 would have to go to employ this person and this person who's going to come work in your org. And I always told those VCs, take a hike. So that's kind of what Nvidia is doing there a little bit by saying, yeah, we'll fund your company by giving you a bunch of N100s and or H100s. Now, the only difference to that is that the people the VCs wanted me to hire were garbage, and the H100s we know are truly the best GPUs on the planet. So that's kind of your difference there. So is it a false practice? Kinda, but at the same time, like, that H100 could still sell for the same amount if they gave it to somebody. So
yeah,
it's a fair question though. Harsh, I think you're I think it would be an interesting thing to study. I would like to see somebody do a study on Nvidia and the companies they've invested in and using that practice. I think it's a fair question.
Yeah. I'm looking around here trying to figure out if it started yet, so I'm not ignoring y'all. Actually, Spencer, do you want to go ahead? Elon has actually been fairly technical today. Some days you get political Elon, some days you get super rocket ship Elon, some days you get Tesla Elon, some days you get technical Elon. He's been fairly technical today. I want to go ahead and if you're all right with it, highlight some of his comments and kind of take them apart. So you have XAI. So Spencer obviously does a lot with not only AI, but he does a lot with software development, architecturing. He does a lot of product work. He's run his own businesses. So he's extremely qualified, much more qualified than I am to talk about a lot of this stuff. So you see people saying that X and Twitter are the worst platforms to watch long form videos on. And Elon says, yeah, that needs to be fixed. And I think that was one of the things that Mr. Beast recommended was getting X to be. Nobody's competing with YouTube in terms of long form. You have like you had the ultra rights, like the Rumbles, and like you have the streaming platforms, but everybody goes to Twitter. And so it would be cool if Twitter started to compete more on that. Let's go ahead and see if there's anything else.
So somebody in the comments just said, just got access to Grok 4 in my X settings page. Guys, go and check if you have Premium Plus. I don't think I have Premium Plus. Wait, what am I if I have the blue check marks? I'm not premium. That's not premium's different, right?
Yeah, I think so.
think so. For a little while there. Oh, X Premium. Yeah, no, wait. No, I am X Premium. I lied.
Nice.
So wait, if I go to the settings, I'm looking.
It says settings page. Go check it out if you have Premium Plus.
Yeah, I'm in my settings page and I have Premium, but I see no Grok 4. I wonder if they're rolling it out. I wonder if that's part of the reason why, is they want it to be on before they go live.
Yeah. Okay, so here's here's a pretty good one. I haven't even read it yet, but it already looks entertaining. Elon gave a 4-paragraph here. What if Grok 4 is AGI and we just don't realize it yet? Elon says Grok is already far smarter than humans in most respects. If it can't yet create new technologies or discover new physics, which very few humans can do, and sometimes misses on common sense. When Grok goes far wrong, that is usually due to something foolish we did, like a bad system prompt or placing too much weight on biased resources. It does sound like what last night happened was a demo for Grok 4. Like this sounds like what happened last night. Also, we need to complete improved image training, as even Grok 4 is still partially blind. This will be solved in a month or so. What's your take?
So a couple of things here. One of the first things that always happens every time we start talking about AGI is everybody starts debating what is AGI, right? And so that's one of the very first things, is what is AGI? Now, he says it can't yet create new technologies. That's one of his definitions, one of Musk's definitions of AGI, is the ability for it to actually create new technologies or discover new physics, another thing that he's saying it can't do, and sometimes misses on common sense. So Andrei Karpathy, remember, one of Elon's most cherished, I think Elon was fairly sad when he left.
Mm-hmm.
But when he even says, he calls it encyclopedic stupidity. So he used the example of like Rain Man, right? And so if you've ever seen the movie Rain Man, right, he could tell you any of these amazing facts and do all of this, and yet he still caught the house on fire trying to make toast, right? So like what Sundar Pichai, Google CEO, I just blanked on his last name, says is he calls it brilliantly stupid, right? And so that's kind of what we still have with AI. And so he's like, when Grok goes far wrong, it's usually due to something foolish we did. So that's kind of one of the funny things about this too, is I keep hearing everybody be like, oh my gosh, well, we're going to hit AGI and so developers are going to go away. Guess what? That means you're going to need more developers, because it's like Elon says there, it's usually something due to something foolish we did, right?
Yeah.
Like a bad system proper putting too much weight on a biased source, right? Who do you think is going to feed the machines, guys? Like, the other thing about this is look at history. People are terrified of AI coming. Remember, total reminder here, every time we've ever had advances in technology, we've seen more job creations, not less. When the calculator came, mathematicians got paid more, not less.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mathematicians actually in the 60s got paid crap because they were just peons and grunt work. Then they got the calculator and they're like, oh, you have to actually understand math now. Same thing. So wait, somebody says Elon knows what AGI is and should be grounded to real world physics to really call the world model that he's holding back for some reason. Look, guys, I get this fairly often on my channel too, where people are like, I think they really have it and they're holding it back. There's such a race. If you want a proof of how much of a race they're in to try to get to AGI, look at what Mark Zuckerberg has been doing and offering to pay. That's proof that they're not holding anything back.
Yeah.
Everything they possibly can throw at this, they are going to throw at this. My 2 cents. I could be wrong. You might be right. He may have created some super weapon for the government, but I don't think it'd be for the government, because I don't think him and Trump are on really good terms right now.
Got it. Let's keep looking at okay, so you have the Elon drama. Elon talking about how important FSD is. Cool. We love FSD.
Let's talk about what FSD is here really quick, because it's actually machine learning at a high level, right? So what it does is the Tesla has 8 cameras around it. When it identifies an object that it doesn't know, it sends it back to the mothership. I forgot the name of the big supercomputer.
I forgot too.
I just forgot what it was called. Anyways, it sends it back to the mothership. Mothership identifies it and says, this is a Mountain Dew bottle, right? Like, and then that gets shipped down to the Tesla to where it can say, hey, this thing's a Mountain Dew bottle. It says great. So what the Teslas are actually really good at is image recognition. And they are loaded up. I think last time I heard a number was something like 60,000 models that they basically know that thing is a soda model and this is a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
That's a soda bottle, this is a mouse, right? It's not intelligent. It can just do image recognition at a very fast level. This is the reason why hardware 2, 2.5, and now 3 aren't going to be good enough for the latest FSDs.
Yeah. Got it. I lost the live stream link. Let me look for it. Oh, here it is. It doesn't look like it started yet.
My daughter's yelling at me for putting my soda on screen.
Funny. Okay. So if you guys are just tuning in, we're not just blabbering to waste your guys' time. We're waiting for the Grok 4 live demo. Elon Musk should be demoing it. We don't know why it's taking so long. The time has changed a lot, but the last time we heard was 8 minutes, 8 p.m. Pacific. 4 minutes ago, you had somebody say the stage is set and we'll start soon. Grok 4 live demo, and they shared the link. We're on this link. We're waiting for it to start.
I want to answer one question in the comments. Somebody asked, will Grok 4 be better than ChatGPT 4? Absolutely. Now, the question will be if Grok 4 will be better than ChatGPT 5, which is supposedly AGI. And I can tell you one thing. One, AGI or ChatGPT 5 is going to be forever away because they're nowhere near it. There's a whole bunch of suppositions. But the second part of that is that ChatGPT just sucks. Like I'm not a chat. Like anybody who knows how to use AI doesn't use ChatGPT. Now, why did ChatGPT grab so many users so quickly? They were the first ones to commercialize RAG. Do we have a live demo?
I don't think it's live yet.
I got all excited.
I know.
These are the things that nerds get excited about.
I know. I remember when we watched the first FSD live stream together. That was fun.
Yeah.
I think
we weren't streaming it then.
No, but this is fun. We get all your guys' comments.
Yeah. I love these comments, guys, by the way. As my listeners know, my favorite thing is when you guys comment. It tells me that you guys, like, I love it. And it just, like, seriously makes me super happy.
That's awesome.
Somebody said, bro, ChatGPT isn't bad. He's just a hater. Yes, I'm a hater on ChatGPT. And those who know, don't use ChatGPT.
I have a comment here. Have you played around with image generation?
A ton. Yes.
What's your go-to for image generating?
It's a good question. Usually it's a fair toss-up between, so it used to be Gemini. When it was Gemini 2 Pro, that was the leader. Grok 3 since has come back, and usually I err on Grok 3. Generally speaking, what I'll do is throw it into Grok 3 and into Gemini 2.5 Pro. I find myself gravitating to mostly what Grok 3 is getting, but again, I've also found that, and my politics are going to show it here, sorry. It's generally because I find Gemini Pro to be a lot more woke than Grok, and you can tell it in the images.
Got it.
I'm sure somebody's going to flame me for that. Someone says, I use Gemini Pro 2.5 is decent. Grok 3 got worse the last few months. So that is an interesting thing too. One of the things that's interesting about that, Leafy, thanks for posting that, because I actually agree with this. This is an interesting prospect because Grok, I think Grok is making more incremental changes along the way, where Gemini Pro 2.5 is like, this is our set. And then they start working on the next one. I don't think they really mess with that model. I think Elon's in there fiddling with stuff a lot more, to be honest. I think he's moving the knobs and dials a lot more often. Someone said they actually use Meta AI for image generation. I honestly haven't tried it. Kind of everything. The one thing I won't hate on for Facebook's Llama for their AI stuff, Llama 3.2 is still one of the best small models. Phi 4 is really good. That's Microsoft's. Phi 4 is really good, but it's a fairly large model. You gotta have a decent amount of hardware. As everybody who follows my channel knows, I am not a big proponent on pumping data into the cloud. Build out your own servers. I've got tons of playlists on how to do that. I can show you how to build a great AI server for 500, a really good AI server for 1500. All that's documented on my channel. Go follow and check that out. And then once you do that, then you can run it. So 5.4 is really good. Llama 3.2 is probably one of the most solid small models. DeepSeek is really good, but I find that DeepSeek hallucinates a lot worse than Llama 3.2, and I just kind of don't trust Chinese stuff.
So this kind of got lost in the news cycle, but when DeepSeek hit, it like tanked the market. I can't remember how many percentage points it tanked the market, but it kind of feels like a flash in the pan for me. Is that true, or is there something that I'm not seeing?
So what happened when DeepSeek hit, there's a couple of things that happened here. First of all, DeepSeek said, we trained this for $100 million, and that's actually what tanked the market, because all of a sudden, every investor who dumped hundreds of millions to trillions of dollars, billions of dollars into AI suddenly gasped. You did that for $100 million? Well, two things. It turns out, one, that number was entirely fabricated, and they'd actually spent closer to $1 billion, at which people reverse engineered. The second thing is DeepSeek was one of the first ones to figure out, and they ultimately actually used OpenAI and just sat there and pulled and basically stole all the training data out of OpenAI by using ChatGPT's APIs and pulling it. And they found they'd used over $100 million worth of tokens, stole all their AI data, and trained on it basically for free. 100 million is actually kind of for free, and stole it and just literally stole all the training data out of it. And then suddenly now that's what they're all doing. So it was a flash in the pan, but the stock market totally tanked because everybody gasped for a second.
Yeah. So what's is there any room for DeepSeek to move up in a meaningful way, or was it just kind of a flash?
Yeah. DeepSeek released DeepSeek R1 about a month or two ago. It's good. It's one of their better reasoning models. I'm not a huge fan of reasoning models. There's a couple of reasons I'm not a huge fan of reasoning models. One, AI doesn't reason. So the very premise of the fact that it's reasoning to get better is a farce. It's a total sales pitch. What it's really doing is actually submitting itself through multiple layers of reasoning. And what it's doing is basically it's taking one prompt to chain to another prompt to chain to another prompt. And it's doing it in a very, kind of scientific way to where they can say, oh, it's reasoning. So I'm not a huge fan of them because, one, they're really slow. That's one of my biggest reasons I don't love deep reasoning models. Now, I'm not trying to solve physics problems. I'm usually trying to do a fair amount of data matching, and that's what I'm mostly using open source models and stuff for. And so I'm not a huge fan of reasoning models because usually when I'm doing data matching, I don't need reasoning. So, but there's some people who swear by them. So DeepSeek's R1 did just come out a couple months ago, and it really was just a reasoning model of the original model.
Yeah. So there's a question here. Greetings from Argentina. Will Grok 4 bring new voice models? And to kind of piggyback on this, you and I have talked about this off camera, but let's piggyback off of this. And why is Siri not like Grok or OpenAI, where you can kind of talk and have a conversation with it? Like, it just feels like Siri hasn't updated in a decade.
Well, partly because, remember, LLMs are non-deterministic. So what deterministic means, it's like a math function is deterministic, right? If I say, 1 plus 2 and it equals 3, that's deterministic because it's true, right? Like it has a follow same path. With an LLM, I can put in 1 plus 2 and I might get strawberries, right? Like you don't know what you're gonna get out. And so they're not deterministic. Apple holds a really high bar for their quality standards. I'm not an Apple user. Everyone who follows my channel knows I'm an Android guy. I'm not an Apple guy. But Apple holds really high quality standards. So they didn't release their models because they couldn't hit their thing. Now, something happened internally, and somebody went on stage and touted a whole bunch of stuff with Apple Intelligence, and then it kind of started to roll out. And as they rolled it out, it just was so bad they had to pull it. Now, part of the other reasons why is because they were one of the ones to really start to charge in to trying to drive and push those models, the smaller models, down to the phone as part of their privacy, because they're like, hey, look, we're not going to steal your privacy. The model's on your phone. Small models right now are still really bad. I'm a huge fan of them. I hope they get better, but they're really bad.
So why you said you complimented Meta's small model? Why doesn't Apple have something like that? Because they arguably have more data than almost anybody, maybe.
because they haven't put together a good AI team yet. Because that $61 billion that Mark Zuckerberg spent, I don't think Apple spent on it yet. They wasted their money on the Vision Pro instead.
Yeah, they should have invested in AI instead.
Yeah,
those Vision Pro. Speaking of talent, I'm just kidding. I'm actually selling the Vision Pro because
if there's any buyers out there, he'll sell you for a really good price.
Yeah. So let's see. Is there any other comments? Again, if you guys are just tuning in, we're not trying to waste y'all's time. We're waiting for the Grok 4 live demo. We were told 8 p.m. start time. Spencer's startup pack's out there in Detroit right now, so it's a little bit later for him, but he's still on that Arizona time, so not too bad. Elon said 8. It's almost 9. Is this why Linda quit? Is she tired of waiting on Elon? I don't know. Maybe. But we'll keep waiting. I saw one tweet from an employee that says like waiting for morale to improve. I don't know.
Waiting for morale to improve.
He was one of the employees. I don't see anything too crazy yet, but maybe we can. Let me pull up the event again. Grok 4 live.
So So I'm going to keep going a little bit about the Apple thing while we're waiting on that. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that, McKay. But so somebody said, could it be Apple's privacy commitment? I think the answer to that is yes. I actually think ultimately, because of their privacy commitment, they've committed to not pumping all of that data up into the cloud. And that's part of the reason I hate OpenAI. OpenAI, everything they do, they are stealing your data. I promise you. I can just, like, if everybody within the sound of my voice hears me, OpenAI is stealing your data. They're just stealing it. And Apple, on the other hand, has made a huge commitment to privacy for its users. So they tried to put the smaller models onto the phones. The smaller models on the phones just weren't ready for it. They just weren't. No, they didn't have enough other plugins, so we see like NCP really taking off because it's a way to do plugins into LLMs. We see, there's functions, there's, RAG is obviously one way to feed data into there. And so they didn't have Apple Intelligence fully baked out yet. And so Apple Intelligence was really supposed to be the replacement to Siri. And instead, they've just fallen back to Siri. and Siri's still bad.
Yeah. I'm trying to see. Still nothing on the live stream. I wonder, like, what they're doing. Like, what is it like behind the scenes right now? Like, do you have any idea why a demo like this would be? What are they waiting for? Are they doing?
I've never done a demo at this scale. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I've never done a demo at this scale, so I would have no idea. But I'm sure we're probably not the only live stream trying to catch this as soon as they.
Yeah, I just feel like, I don't know.
It said 53 minutes ago, stay tuned, and they pinned it. So. Ooh, I need to change to a dark theme here.
All right, let's see. I'm trying to see. I'm going to see if there's anything to react to on Twitter while we're waiting. Still call it Twitter, X.
So an interesting thing is I was working for a client, we were doing data matching. So they had two data warehouses, okay? And the data between the two had no keys to be able to connect the data between each other. So for years, this company has had people doing swivel chair data from one to another, from one to every day. And there was probably about 80, I mean, it's not that large of a company, and it's probably about 80 plus man hours a week that were getting wasted on this. So we started, so this was a perfect use case for LLM. A couple of reasons. One, it could be processed offline. So myself and my enterprise architect started to work on taking this data and working out the prompt. Prompt ended up being almost 3 pages long if you put it into like a Word document, like to get the prompt correct. But we finally got it to where it would format both sides into JSON. We would actually query a subset of data so that it was only for one set of like a customer. And then as you would do that, it could then never match outside of its bounds, right? And now somebody just said rocket ship 2 minutes ago. Scroll down a little bit on that, McKay.
On where?
Right there on your screen. Yeah, hit that.
It's just the demo page.
Said 2 minutes ago, I got all excited. And so we set up this agent to do this data matching, which then now saves like, 80 to 100 hours of man hours every week doing this. It can be processed at night. It can be run on one of the on-prem servers, which is run on their site. No data stays on that server. It just does the data matching. We're running in the high 90% for data matching. This is a great example. We ran this match, okay? So this match against Grok 3, and it came back almost twice as fast when we ran against the Grok 3 API, but that was one where we accidentally ran up a $300 bill in like an hour.
Wow.
So super expensive, really good, but like that's not realistic, right?
Yeah.
Is Grok 3 open source? Absolutely not. We wish. Now, they did just recently make a pact, and this is, again, an example of the split between OpenAI and Microsoft. Satya Nadella just announced that they are hosting Grok on Azure now. So Microsoft and Grok have made a partnership, and you can actually host Grok on Azure systems now, but it is very closed source.
I got another question from Tristan here. Any idea which company actually seems to care the most about long-term AI safety, including making sure their models don't get stolen or misused by other countries?
Well, it's definitely not OpenAI because DeepSeek stole all their stuff. Who has the safety? I don't think any of them are playing about safety. I think all of them are on a dead sprint to get AGI as fast as they can, that I think they've thrown safety out the window. And define what safety is. You could possibly argue Grok is the safest because Elon doesn't open source any of it. But then again, like you're putting a lot of power. I'm an Elon Musk fan, but at the same time, like you're putting a lot of power into one person. If Elon went rogue and decided he got mad at Trump and decided he wanted to sell it all to China tomorrow, in theory, he could.
Elon has my car. He has my internet. He has.
I know. Trust me. Like I'm not bad mouthing Elon. I'm just saying, if you want to talk about AI safety, Tristan, like the biggest thing to that is going to be that ultimately, at the end of the day, in Elon we trust with Grok. So yeah. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah.
Again, I do.
I wonder if it's a matter of time until some famous person's AI gets leaked, like their chats. I don't know, something sensitive.
So there's a lot of it that actually has the person who's probably had the most leaks of that kind of reverse engineering has been OpenAI, without a question.
Got it. So all of a sudden you've had, let's see, like 1, 2, 3 employees just reshare the links. 4. I'm getting a little sleep here. I was up till 3 a.m. last night. I'm tired. So you just had a bunch of employees share the link. So maybe Elon's like, everybody share the link. It's time to start.
Hopefully any minute then.
Yeah, great questions, guys. Again, if you guys are just joining, this is my dad's startup hack. I am his son, and we would just be watching the Grok 4 live stream together and not live streaming it, but I think we have some pretty fun conversations, and we figured we might live stream it tonight. And so if you guys wouldn't mind, maybe hit us in the chat or give us a thumbs up in the live stream if you guys kind of like this podcast duo, because we enjoy it. It's time to hang out, and we like to talk tech, business, controversy, whatever you name it, we've got it. So right now, again, we're waiting for the Grok 4 live demo. You have employees retweeting it, so we're getting close. Hopefully,
we're gonna get demonetized. Somebody in the comments just said Grok shot himself in his bunker.
I don't know what Grok did last night, but
Levy says nothing better than talking about crap with family.
Exactly, it's the best.
I agree. I love it. And then Retro Dad, yep. Somebody said you guys are great. Do more of these. Yeah, I'm laughing. Like I said, Grok 4 just make Grok 5, so that's why our delay.
So somebody's asking, and I think this is a fair question. I have somebody, let me pull up his comment really quick, and this is to push back on you a little bit, Spencer. He says, how do you know that AI is stealing?
How do I know AI is stealing? How does your interview know OpenAI steals info?
So wait. Oh, wait. It's starting soon.
My stream will begin shortly. This is well, it's all right. We're at least getting to the rolling.
I'm gonna do a sound check really quick to make sure that we have audio sound. Are you guys able to hear the music?
Oh yeah.
You should be able to.
Apologies for my audio too. I am in Detroit, so I'm a long ways away from home, and I forgot my mic. I meant to put my mic, and I forgot.
Okay.
OpenAI killed. So Marcus Rich is right. OpenAI did kill an engineer who was a whistleblower on them.
Okay, allegedly. Let's not get ourselves caught up into a lawsuit. An OpenAI engineer allegedly was killed. Allegedly
was killed. And the funny thing about it is, try to get any of the AI systems except for Grok to talk about it.
Really?
None of them will even talk about it.
Wow.
You can't get them to even talk about it. I tried one time, and I actually got in a fight with, I can't remember which one I was using, and I got in a total fight with them about it. So that's one thing that's very nefarious. There's a lot of things. Basically, I just don't trust them all at all. They are hosting. Oh, are we getting that audio on from your machine, McKay?
I just muted it because I don't. Let me see.
Yeah, I got it. So I just don't think Sam Altman is trustworthy at all. I think everything he's done in the last. I was actually a huge fan of him when he was back at Y Combinator. I was actually one of the biggest Sam Altman fans. And then he left YC, and pretty much everything he has done since he started with OpenAI has been off the rails. And I actually think he's kind of lost it. I think the power's gone to his head. I think he's lost it. There's a lot more raw than a lot of my listeners get to hear me. I'm a little more scripted, I think, in my channel. But the other reason that I say that is there was actually a lawsuit that recently came about where OpenAI was told that they had to delete, or they had to allow people to be able to delete their logs. And suddenly, all of a sudden, Grok or OpenAI was like, well, no, we don't have their logs. And suddenly when the lawsuit came through, surprise, they had everybody's logs.
Yeah, don't doubt it.
And so it's like, really, they are the largest data collector of all of them. But to be fair, they all collect every bit of data they can, because AI right now is a race for AI, or for info. That's it. This is a data race, where data is what is going to make the difference right now. And so, if anyone's never heard of the term model collapse, right? So model collapse is where data gets produced. So like, think of it this way. If I use an AI and I create a website, and that website is created from AI and now has a whole bunch of AI content into it, and then that website gets scraped and put back into the training data for the next round of the training of the AI, you've now had what's called model collapse, because it's training on its own data. So it's literally the LLM eating its own vomit. And so just the same way as you don't get your own nourishment from your own vomit, you're not going to. Another analogy is, if I take a piece of paper and I put it into a copy machine, and then I take the copy of that and I put it back in the copy machine, and then I take a copy of that and put it back, you're going to eventually, by the 8th time, have something that doesn't look anything like the original. This is what we call model collapse. So it's a theory around machine learning and models. You get model collapse when you start training on bad data that it's produced itself. And that's what's starting to happen. It's the reason we're seeing hallucination rates. If you don't believe me, go check out the hallucination numbers published by OpenAI from 01 to 03 to 04 mini. You see the hallucination rates that are going up quadratically, right? So if you know math, it's not linear, it's actually going up quadratically. So that's some of the reasons there's nothing good that I can say really about OpenAI.
Interesting.
Which has best sense of humor, I would go with Grok. But again, I like my non-woke humor.
Yeah, totally. So it looks like we've been waiting on Twitter for a while. Oh, we might have something. So Spencer and I are going to go ahead and mute our mics. And then if you have a quick tidbit, feel free to chime in. Wait, hold on. Let's see. This might be another loading screen.
Knowledge shapes destiny.
Oh.
One creation dares.
Give me a thumbs up in chat if audio is good, if you don't mind.
Minds at XAI prepare for Grok 4. This summer, the next generation arrives. Faster, smarter, bolder. It sees beyond the horizon, answers the unasked, and challenges the impossible. Grok 4, Unleash the Truth, coming this summer.
All right, welcome to the Grok 4 release here. This is the smartest AI in the world, and we're going to show you exactly how and why. It really is remarkable to see the advancement of artificial intelligence, how quickly it is evolving. I sometimes compare it to the growth of a human and how fast a human learns and gains conscious awareness and understanding. And AI is advancing just vastly faster than any human. I mean, we're going to take you through a bunch of benchmarks that that Grok 4 is able to achieve incredible numbers on. But it's actually worth noting that Grok 4, if given like the SAT, would get perfect SATs every time, even if it's never seen the questions before. And if even going beyond that to say like graduate student exams like the GRE, it will get near perfect results in every discipline of education. So from the humanities to like languages, math, physics, engineering, pick anything, and we're talking about questions that it's never seen before. These are not on the internet, and Grok 4 is smarter than almost all graduate students in all disciplines simultaneously. Like, it's actually just important to appreciate that's really something. The reasoning capabilities of Grok are incredible. So there's some people out there who think AI can't reason, and look, it can reason at superhuman levels. So yeah, and frankly, it only gets better from here. So we'll take you through the Grok 4 release, and show you like the pace of progress here. Like, I guess the first part is like, in terms of the training, we're going from Grok 2 to Grok 3 to Grok 4. We've essentially increased the training by an order of magnitude in each case. So it's 100 times more training than Grok 2, and that's only going to increase. So it's frankly, I mean, I don't know, in some ways a little terrifying, but the growth of intelligence here is remarkable.
Yes. It's important to realize there are two types of training compute. One is the pre-training compute. That's from Grok 2 to Grok 3. But from Grok 3 to Grok 4, we're actually putting a lot of compute in reasoning in RL.
Yeah, and just like you said, this is literally the fastest moving field. And Grok 2 is like the high school student by today's standard. If we look back in the last 12 months, Grok 2 was only a concept. We didn't even have Grok 2 12 months ago. And then by training Grok 2, that was the first time we scale up like the pre-training. We realized that if you actually do the data ablation really carefully, and the infra, and also the algorithm, we can actually push the pre-training quite a lot by amount of 10x to make the model the best pre-trained base model. And that's why we built Colossus, the world's supercomputer with 100,000 H100. And then with the best pre-trained model, and we realized if you can collect these verifiable outcome reward, you can actually train this model to start thinking from the first principle, start to reason, correct its own mistakes. And that's where the Grok 3 reasoning comes from. And today we ask the question, what happens if you take the expansion of the Colossus with all 200,000 GPUs, put all these into RL, 10x more compute than any of the models out there on reinforcement learning, unprecedented scale, what's going to happen? So this is the story of Grok 4, and Tony share some insight with the audience.
Yeah. So yeah, let's just talk about how smart Grok 4 is. So I guess we can start discussing this benchmark called Humanities Last Exam. And this benchmark is a very, very challenging benchmark. Every single problem is curated by subject matter experts. It's in total 2,500 problems. and it consists of many different subjects: mathematics, natural sciences, engineering, and also all the humanities subjects. So essentially, when it was first released, actually like earlier this year, most of the models out there can only get single-digit accuracy on this benchmark. Yeah, so we can look at some of those examples. So there is this mathematical problem, which is about natural transformations in category theory. And there's this organic chemistry problem that talks about electrocyclic reactions. And also there's this linguistic problem that tries to ask you about distinguishing between closed and open syllabus from a Hebrew source text. So you can see also it's a very wide range of problems. And every single problem is PhD or even advanced research level problems.
Yeah, I mean, there are no humans that can actually answer these, can get a good score. I mean, if you actually say like any given human, what's the best that any human could score? I mean, I'd say maybe 5% optimistically.
Yeah.
So this is much harder than what any human can do. It's incredibly difficult, and you can see from the types of questions. Like you might be incredible in linguistics or mathematics or chemistry or physics or any one of a number of subjects, but you're not going to be at a postgrad level in everything. And Grok 4 is a postgrad level in everything. Like it's just, some of these things are just worth repeating. Like Grok 4 is postgraduate, like PhD level in everything, better than PhD, but like most PhDs would fail. So it's better that said, I mean, at least with respect to academic questions, I want to just emphasize this point. With respect to academic questions, Grok 4 is better than PhD level in every subject, no exceptions. Now, this doesn't mean that times it may lack common sense, and it has not yet invented new technologies or discovered
at times
new
it may
physics,
lack common sense.
but that is just a matter of time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it may discover new technologies as soon as later this year, and I would be shocked if it has not done so next year. So I would expect Grok to, literally discover new technologies that are actually useful no later than next year and maybe end of this year. And it might discover new physics next year. And within 2 years.
And as much as I'm an Elon fan, I think Elon is the worst predictor of timelines of any human in history.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, so I guess we can talk about what's behind the scene of Grok 4. As Jimmy mentioned, we actually throwing a lot of compute into this training. When it started, it's only also a single digit. Sorry, the previous slide. Sorry. Yeah, it's only a single digit number. But as you start putting in more and more training compute, it started to gradually become smarter and smarter, and eventually solved a quarter of the HLE problems. And this is without any tools. The next thing we did was to adding tools capabilities to the model. And unlike Grok 3, I think Grok 3 actually is able to use CRO as well, but here we actually make it more native in the sense that we put the tools into training. Grok 3 was only relying on generalization. Here, we actually put the tools into training. And it turns out this significantly improves the model's capability of using those tools.
Yeah, I remember we had like deep search back in the days.
Yeah.
So how is this different?
Yeah, exactly. So deep search was exactly the Grok 3 reasoning model, but without any specific training, but we only asked it to use those tools. So compared to this, it was much weaker in terms of its tool capabilities.
And unreliable.
Yeah. And unreliable, yes.
And to be clear, like these are still, I'd say, this is still fairly primitive tool use. If you compare it to, say, the tools that are used at Tesla or SpaceX, where you're using, finite element analysis and computational fluid dynamics, and you're able to run, or say like Tesla does, like crash simulations where the simulations are so close to reality that if the test doesn't match the simulation, you assume that the test article is wrong. That's how good the simulations are. So Grok is not currently using any of the tools, the really powerful tools that a company would use, but that is something that we will provide it with later this year. So we'll have the tools that a company has, and have very accurate physics simulator. Ultimately, the thing that'll make the biggest difference is being able to interact with the real world via humanoid robots. So you combine sort of Grok with Optimus, and it can actually interact with the real world and figure out if it can formulate an hypothesis and then confirm if that hypothesis is true or not. So we're really, think about like where we are today. We're at the beginning of an immense intelligence explosion. We're in the intelligence Big Bang right now. And we're at the most interesting time to be alive of any time in history. Yeah. Now, that said, we need to make sure that the AI is a good AI, good Grok. And the thing that I think is most important for AI safety, at least my biological neural net tells me, the most important thing for AI is to be maximally truth-seeking. So this is a very fundamental. But you can think of AI as this super genius child that ultimately will outsmart you, but you can still instill the right values, and encourage it to be sort of, truthful, I don't know, honorable, good things, like the values you want to instill in a child that would ultimately grow up to be incredibly powerful. Yeah. So yeah, so this is really, I'd say, we say tools. These are still primitive tools, not the kind of tools that serious commercial companies use. But we will provide it with those tools, and I think it will be able to solve with those tools real world technology problems. In fact, I'm certain of it. It's just a question of how long it takes.
Yes, exactly.
So is it just compute all you need, Tony?
Sorry?
Is it just compute all you need at this point?
Well, you need compute plus the right tools, and then ultimately to be able to interact with the physical world.
Yes.
And then, we'll effectively have an economy that is, well, ultimately an economy that is thousands of times bigger than our current economy, or maybe millions of times. I mean, if you think of civilization as percentage completion of the Kardashev scale, where Kardashev 1 is using all the energy output of a planet, and Kardashev 2 is using all the energy output of a sun, and 3 is all the energy output of a galaxy. We're only, in my opinion, probably like closer to 1% of Kardashev 1 than we are to 10%. So like maybe a point or 1 or 2% of Kardashev 1. So we will get to most of the way, like 80-90% Kardashev 1, and then hopefully, if civilization doesn't self-annihilate, and then Kardashev 2, like it's the actual notion of a human economy, assuming civilization continues to progress, will seem very quaint in retrospect. It will seem like sort of cavemen throwing sticks into a fire level of economy, compared to what the future will hold. I mean, it's very exciting. I mean, I've been at times kind of worried about, like, well, is this seems like it's somewhat unnerving to have intelligence created that is far greater than our own. And will this be bad or good for humanity? It's like, I think it'll be good. Most likely it'll be good. Yeah. Yeah, but I somewhat reconciled myself to the fact that even if it wasn't going to be good, I'd at least like to be alive to see it happen. So, yeah.
So actually, one yeah, I think one technical problem that we still need to solve, besides just compute, is how do we unblock the data bottleneck? Because when we try to scale up the RL in this case, we did invent a lot of new techniques, innovations, to allow us to figure out how to find a lot of challenging RL problems to work on. It's not just the problem itself needs to be challenging, but also it needs to be, you also need to have like a reliable signal to tell the model, you did it wrong, you did it right. This is the sort of the principle of reinforcement learning. And as the models get smarter and smarter, the number of cool problems or challenging problems will be less and less.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a new type of challenge that we need to surpass besides just compute. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually are running out of actual test questions to ask. So there's like even questions that are ridiculously hard, if not essentially impossible for humans, that are written down questions are swiftly becoming trivial for AI. Mm-hmm. So then there's, but you know, the one thing that is an excellent judge of things is reality. So, because physics is the law, ultimately, everything else is a recommendation. You can't break physics. So the ultimate test, I think, for whether an AI is, the ultimate reasoning test is reality.
Yes.
So you invent a new technology, like say, improve the design of a car or a rocket, or create a new medication that, and does it work?
Yeah.
Does the rocket get to orbit? Does the car drive? Does the medicine work? Whatever the case may be, reality is the ultimate judge here. So it's going to be reinforcement learning, closing the loop around reality.
We asked the question, how do we even go further? So actually, we are thinking about now, with single agent, we're able to solve 40% of the problem. What if we have multiple agents running at the same time? So this is what's called test and compute. And as we scale up the test and compute, actually, we are able to solve almost more than 50% of the text-only subset of the HLE problems. So it's a remarkable achievement, I think.
Yeah, this is insanely difficult. These are so what we're saying is like a majority of the text-based of humanities, you know, scarily named humanities last exam, Grok 4 can solve, and you can try it out for yourself. And with the Grok 4 Heavy, what it does is it spawns multiple agents in parallel, and all of those agents do work independently, and then they compare their work, and they decide which one. Like it's like a study group, and it's not as simple as a majority vote, because often only one of the agents actually figures out the trick or figures out the solution. But once they share the trick or figure out what the real nature of the problem is, they share that solution with the other agents, and then they essentially compare notes, and then yield an answer. Yeah. So that's the heavy part of Grok 4 is where you scale up the test time compute by roughly an order of magnitude, have multiple agents tackle the task, and then they compare their work, and they put forward what they think is the best result.
Yeah, so we will introduce Grok 4 and Grok 4 Heavy. Sorry, can you click the next slide?
Sure.
Yeah, yes. So basically, Grok 4 is the single agent version, and Grok 4 Heavy is the multi-agent version. So let's take a look how they actually do on those exam problems and also some real life problems.
Yeah. So we're going to start out here, and we're actually going to look at one of those HLE problems. This is actually one of the easier math ones. I don't really understand it very well. I'm not that smart, but I can launch this job here, and we can actually see how it's going to go through and start to think about this problem. While we're doing that, I also want to show a little bit more about like what this model can do and launch a Grok 4 Heavy as well. So everyone knows Polymarket. It's extremely interesting. It's the seeker of truth. It aligns with what reality is most of the time. And with Grok, what we're actually looking at is being able to see how we can try to take these markets and see if we can predict the future as well. So as we're letting this run, we'll see how Grok 4 Heavy goes about predicting the World Series odds for like the current teams in the MLB. And while we're waiting for these to process, we're going to pass it over to Eric, and he's going to show you an example of his.
Yeah. So I guess one of the coolest things about Grok 4 is its ability to understand the world and to solve hard problems by leveraging tools like Tony discussed. And I think one kind of cool example of this, we asked it to generate a visualization of two black holes colliding. And of course, it took there are some liberties. It's in many cases actually pretty clear in its thinking trace about what these liberties are. For example, in order for it to actually be visible, you need to really exaggerate the scale of the waves. And yeah, so here's like this kind of in action. It exaggerates the scale in like multiple ways. It drops off a bit less in terms of amplitude over distance, and but yeah, we can kind of see the basic effects that are actually like correct. It starts with the in spiral, it merges, and then you have the ring down, and like this is basically largely correct. Modulo some of the simplifications that need to do. It's actually quite explicit about this. It uses like post-Newtonian approximations instead of actually like computing the general relativistic effects at like near the center of the black hole, which is incorrect, and will lead to some incorrect results. But the overall visualization is is basically there. And you can actually look at the kinds of resources that it references. So here it actually, it obviously uses search. It gathers results from a bunch of links, but also reads through a undergraduate text in analytic gravitational wave models. It reasons quite a bit about the actual constants that it should use for a realistic simulation. It references, I guess, existing real-world data, and it's a pretty good model.
But like actually going forward, we can give it the same model that physicists use, so it can run the same level of compute that so leading physics researchers are using, and give you a physics accurate black hole simulation.
Exactly.
Just right now is running in your browser, so.
Yeah, this is just running in your browser.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty simple.
So swapping back real quick here, we can actually take a look. The math problem is finished. The model was able to, let's look at its thinking trace here. So you can see how it went through the problem. I'll be honest with you guys, I really don't quite fully understand the math, but what I do know is that I looked at the answer ahead of time. And it did come to the correct answer here in the final part here. We can also come in and actually take a look here at our World Series prediction. And it's still thinking through on this one, but we can actually try some other stuff as well. So we can actually like try some of the X integrations that we did. So we worked very heavily on working with all of our X tools and building out a really great X experience. So we can actually ask, the model, find me the XAI employee that has the weirdest profile photo. So that's going to go off and start that. And then we can actually try out, let's create a timeline based on X post detailing the, changes in the scores over time. And we can see, all the conversation that was taking place at that time as well. So we can see who are the, announcing scores and like what was the reactions at those times as well. So we'll let that go through here and process. And if we go back to, this was the Greg Yang photo here. So if we scroll through here, whoops. So Greg Yang, of course, who has his favorite photograph that he has on his account. That's actually not how he looks like in real life, by the way, just so you're aware, but it is quite funny.
But it had to understand that question.
Yeah.
Which is that's the wild part. It's like it understands what is a weird photo. What is a weird photo?
Yeah.
What is a less or more weird photo?
It goes through, it has to find all the team members, it has to figure out who we all are. It,
Right.
You know, searches
This
X.
is without access to the internal XAI personnel logs.
No.
It's literally looking at just at the internet.
Exactly.
So you could say like the weirdest of any company.
Yeah.
To be clear.
Exactly. And we can also take a look here at the question here for the humanities last exam. So it is still researching all of the historical scores, but it will have that final answer here soon. But we can, while it's finishing up, we can take a look at one of the ones that we set up here a second ago. And we can see, like, you know, it finds the date that like Dan Hendricks had initially announced it. We can go through, we can see, you know, OpenAI announcing their score back in February. And we can see, you know, as progress happens with like Gemini, we can see like Kimi, and we can also even see, you know, the leaked benchmarks of what people are saying is, you know, if it's right, it's going to be pretty impressive. So pretty cool. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how everybody uses these tools and gets the most value out of them. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, we're going to close the loop around usefulness as well. So it's like, it's not just book smart, but actually practically smart.
Exactly. And we can go back to the slides here. Yeah. So
cool. So we actually evaluate also on the multimodal subset. So on the full set, this is the number on the HLE exam. You can see there's a little dip on the numbers. This is actually something we're improving on, which is the multimodal understanding capabilities. But I do believe in a very short time, we're able to really improve and got much higher numbers on this, even higher numbers on this benchmark.
Yeah, this is we still like what is the biggest weakness of Grok currently is that it's sort of partially blind. It can't, its image understanding, obviously, and its image generation needs to be a lot better. And that's actually being trained right now. So Grok 4 is based on version 6 of our foundation model, and we are training version 7, which will complete in a few weeks, and that'll address the weakness on the vision side.
Mm-hmm. Just to show off this last here, so the prediction market finished here with a heavy, and we can see here, we can see all the tools and the process it used to actually go through and find the right answer. So it browsed a lot of odd sites. It calculated its own odds comparing to the market to find its own alpha and edge. It walks you through the entire process here, and it calculates the odds of the winner being like the Dodgers, and it gives them a 21.6% chance of winning this year. So, and it took approximately 4.5 minutes to compute.
Yeah, that's a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
We can also look at all the other benchmarks besides HLE. As it turned out, Grok 4 excelled on all the reasoning benchmarks that people usually test on, including GBQA, which is a PhD level problem sets. That's easier compared to HLE. On AMI 25, American Invitation Mathematics exam, with Grok 4 Heavy, we actually got a perfect score. Also on some of the coding benchmark called Live Coding Bench, and also on HMMT, Harvard Math, MIT exam, and also USAMO. You can see actually on all of those benchmarks, we often have a very large leap against the second best model out there.
Yeah, I mean, really, we're going to get to the point where it's going to get every answer right in every exam. And where it doesn't get an answer right, it's going to tell you what's wrong with the question. Or if the question is ambiguous, disambiguate the question into answers A, B, and C and tell you what answers A, B, and C would be with a disambiguated question. So the only real test then will be reality. Can it make useful technologies, discover new science, that'll actually be the only thing left, because human tests will simply not be meaningful.
Well, we need to make an update to HLE very soon, given the current rate of progress. So yeah, it's super cool to see like multiple agents that collaborate with each other, solving really challenging problems. So we're going to try this model. So it turned out it's available right now. If we advance to the next slide, where there is a super Grok heavy tiers that we're introducing, where you're able to access to both Grok 4 and Grok 4 heavy, where you're actually going to be the taskmaster of a bunch of little Grok research agents to help you, become smarter, do all the little research and save hours of time of, going through mundane tasks. And it's available right now.
So we did limit usage during the demo, so it didn't break the demo, because all this stuff is happening live. So there's nothing canned about any of the tests that we're doing. So after the demo is done, we'll enable more subscribers for Super Grok. So if you can't subscribe right now, just try in half an hour. It should work. And now let's get into voice.
Great.
Cool. So many of you have been enjoying our voice mode, and we've been working hard to improve the experience over the past couple months. We have cut latency in half to make it much snappier. And today we're excited to announce a set of new voices that have exceptional naturalness and prosody. You might have noticed the movie trailer voice that opened up the live stream. That is one of our new voices, Sal, who's got that epically deep tone. And we're also excited to introduce Eve, a beautiful British voice who's capable of rich emotions. Aman, would you like to introduce Eve?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's get into the demo. Hey, Eve, millions of people are watching us right now. Are you excited?
Oh, I'm thrilled, really. It's like being on stage at the Old Vic with a sea of faces out there. Just imagine all those eyes and ears tuned in. It's a proper buzz, isn't it? What do you reckon we should chat about to keep this lot entertained?
We have a lot to talk about, but I'll be honest, I'm feeling a little nervous. Can you whisper something soothing to calm me down?
Take a deep breath, love. You've got this. It's just you and me, having a quiet chat, like we're tucked away in a cozy corner of a Yorkshire pub. The world's just a murmur out there. Feel that calm wash over you. Let's keep talking, nice and easy. What's on your mind?
You know what? I'm actually feeling quite relaxed to try this something crazy. So can you give us an opera on Diet Coke?
Oh, an opera on Diet Coke. That's a riot. Picture this, a shimmering silver can, glistening under stage lights. Oh, Diet Coke, thou elixir divine, with bubbles that dance in a sparkling line. Thy crisp, cool kiss on lips so fine. Oh, aspartame, ambrosia, forever mine. How's that for a mad little aria? Want me to belt out another verse or switch up the tune?
Okay, let's try switching it up and just start singing.
Right then, let's have a go. Oh, silver can, you gleam in the light. Diet Coke, my heart's delight.
Okay, I won't touch it. It's very, very poetic. Yeah, thank you, Eve. Feeling quite nice now.
Cool. So that's Eve. And so something else we do here is a little test each day to check on the natural flow of our conversations against some of our competitors. So we figured, why not try that live on the stream today?
Should I start? Hey, I'm going to say a number, and can you say the same number back to me? 1.
1, got it. This is like a fun little game of echo. What's next?
2. Sorry, I said 2. 3.
3. 4. Nice and steady. What's next?
5.
5. Nailed it. This is pretty fun, actually. Feel free to keep going or switch it up if you'd like.
Hey, Grock. Hey, Grock.
Hello there. How can I help you today?
We're going to do a little test. Can you repeat after me? 1,
1. All right. What's next?
2,
2. What's on your mind?
3,
3. Need anything else?
4,
4. How can I assist you?
5.
5. What's next?
So as you can see, Grok was snappier. It didn't interrupt me. And the prosody is we've made different design choices. I think we were shooting for something more calm, smooth, more natural versus something that's more poppy or artificial. So we'll keep improving on these fronts.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Yep. So since the launch of the voice model, we actually see the 2x faster end-to-end latency in the last 8 weeks, 5 different voices, and also 10x the active user. So Grok Voice is taking off. Now, if you think about releasing the models, this time we're also releasing Grok 4 through the API at the same time. So if we go to the next 2 slides, so we're very excited about what all developers out there is going to build. So if I think about myself as a developer, what the first thing I'm going to do when I actually have access to the Grok 4 API? Benchmarks. So we actually asked around on the X platform, what is the most challenging benchmarks out there that is considered the holy grail for all the AGI models? So turn out AGI is in the name, ArcAGI. So the last 12 hours, kudos to Greg over here in the audience. So who answered our call, take a preview of the Grok 4 API and independently verified, the Grok 4's performance. So initially we thought, hey, Grok 4 is just, we think it's pretty good, it's pretty smart. It's our next gen reasoning model, spend 10x more compute, can use all the tools, right? But turned out when we actually verify on the private subset of the ArcAGI v2, it was like the only model in the last 3 months that breaks the 10% barrier. And in fact, it was so good that actually gets to 16%, well, 15.8% accuracy, 2x of the second place, that is the Cloud 4 Opus model. And it's not just about performance, right? When you think about intelligence, having the API model drives your automation. It's also the intelligence per dollar, right? If you look at the plots over here, the Grok is just 4 is just in the league of its own. All right, so enough of benchmarks over here, right? So what can Grok do actually in the real world? So we actually contacted the folks from Enden Labs who gracious enough to try to Grok in the real world to run a business.
Yeah, thanks for having us. So I'm Axel from Enden Labs.
And I'm Lucas, and we tested Grok 4 on Vending Bench. Vending Bench is an AI simulation of a business scenario where we thought, what is the most simple business an AI could possibly run? And we thought vending machines. So in this scenario, the Grok and other models need to do stuff like manage inventory, contact suppliers, set prices. All of these things are super easy, and all the models can do them one by one. But when you do them over very long horizons, most models struggle. But we have a leaderboard, and there's a new number 1.
Yeah, so we got early access to the Grok 4 API. We ran it on the vending bench, and we saw some really impressive results. So it ranks definitely at the number 1 spot. It's even double the net worth, which is the measure that we have on this eval. So it's not about the percentage on or a score you get, but it's more the dollar value in net worth that you generate. So we were impressed by Grok. It was able to formulate a strategy and adhere to that strategy over a long period of time, much longer than other models that we have tested, other frontier models. So it managed to run the simulation for double the time and score double the net worth. And it was also really consistent across these runs, which is something that's really important when you want to use this in the real world.
And I think as we give more and more power to AI systems in the real world, it's important that we test them in scenarios that either mimic the real world or are in the real world itself. Because otherwise we fly blind into some things that might not be great.
Yeah, it's great to see that we've now got a way to pay for all those GPUs. So we just need 1 million vending machines.
Definitely.
And we could make $4.7 billion a year with 1 million vending machines.
100%. Let's go.
They can be epic vending machines.
Yes, yes.
All right. We are actually going to install vending machines here, like a lot of them.
We're happy to supply them.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. All right.
I'm looking forward to seeing what amazing things are in this vending machine.
That's for you to decide.
All right.
Or tell the AI.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Yeah. I mean, so we can see like Grock is able to become like the co-pilot of the business unit. So what else can Grock do? So we're actually releasing this Grock. If you want to try it right now to evaluate, run the same benchmark as us. It's on the API. Has 256K contact length. So we already actually see some of the early adopters to try Grock 4 API. So our Palo Alto neighbor, Arc Institute, which is a leading biomedical research center, is already seeing like how can they automate their research flows with Grock 4. It turned out it's able to help the scientists to sniff through, millions of experiments logs, and then, just like pick the best hypothesis within a split of seconds. We see this is being used for their the CRISPR research, and also, Grock 4 independently evaluated scores as the best model to examine the chest X-ray. Who would know? In the financial sector, we also see, the Grock 4 with access to all the tools, real-time information is actually one of the most popular AIs out there. So, our Grock 4 is also going to be available on the hyperscalers. So the XAI enterprise sector is only, started 2 months ago, and we're open for business. So the other thing, we talked a lot about, having Grock to make games, video games. So Danny is actually a video game designer on X. So, we mentioned, hey, who want to try out some Grock 4 preview APIs to make games? And Danny answered the call. So this was actually just made first-person shooting game in a span of 4 hours. Some of the unappreciated hardest problem of making video games is not necessarily encoding the core logic of the game, but actually go out, source all the assets, all the textures of files, and to create a visually appealing game. So one of the core aspects Grock 4 does really well with all the tools out there is actually able to automate these asset sourcing capabilities. So the developers can just focus on the core development itself rather than so now you can run a entire game studios with game of one with one person, and then you can have Grock 4 to go out and source all those assets, do all the mundane tasks for you.
Yeah. The next step obviously is for Grock to be able to play the game. So it has to have very good video understanding, so it can play the games and interact with the games and actually assess whether a game is fun and actually have good judgment for whether a game is fun or not. So with version 7 of our foundation model, which finishes training this month, and then we'll go through post-training RL and whatnot, that will have excellent video understanding. And with the video understanding and improved tool use, for example, for video games, you'd want to use Unreal Engine or Unity or one of the main graphics engines, and then generate the art, apply it to a 3D model, and then create an executable that someone can run on a PC or a console or a phone. We expect that to happen probably this year, and if not this year, certainly next year. So that's it's going to be wild. I would expect the first really good AI video game to be next year. And probably the first half hour of watchable TV this year, and probably the first watchable AI movie next year. Things are really moving at an incredible pace.
Yeah, when Grock is 10xing world economy with vending machines, it would just create video games for human.
Yeah, I mean, it went from not being able to do any of this really even 6 months ago to what you're seeing before you here, and from very primitive a year ago to making a sort of a 3D video game with a few hours of prompting.
Yep. I mean, yeah, just to recap. So in today's live stream, we introduced the most powerful, most intelligent AI models out there that can actually reason from the first principle using all the tools, do all the research, go on the journey for 10 minutes, come back with the most correct answer for you. So it's kind of crazy to think about, just like 4 months ago, we had Grock 3, and now we already have Grock 4. And we're going to continue to accelerate as a company, XAI. We're going to be the fastest moving AGI companies out there. So what's coming next is that we're going to continue developing the model that's not just intelligent, smart, think for a really long time, spend a lot of compute, but having a model that actually both fast and smart is going to be the core focus, right? So if you think about what are the applications out there that can really benefit from all those very intelligent, fast, and smart models, and coding is actually one of them.
Yeah, so the team is currently working very heavily on coding models. I think right now the main focus is we actually trained recently a specialized coding model, which is going to be both fast and smart. And I believe we can share with that model with you guys, with all of you in a few weeks.
Yeah, that's very exciting. And the second after coding is we all see the weakness of Grock 4 is the multimodal capability. So in fact, it was so bad that Grock effectively just like looking at the world, squinting through the glass, and like see all the blurry features and trying to make sense of it. The most immediate improvement we're going to see with the next generation pre-trained model is that we're going to see a step function improvement on the model's capability in terms of image understanding, video understanding, and audios. Right? It's now the model is able to hear and see the world just like any of you, right? And now with all the tools at its command, with all the other agents it can talk to, so we're going to see a huge unlock for many different application layers. After the multimodal agents, what's going to come after is the video generation, and we believe that at the end of the day, it should just be pixel in, pixel out, and imagine a world where you have this infinite scroll of content in inventory on the X platform, where not only you can actually watch these generated videos, but able to intervene, create your own adventures. The future is going to be wild.
And we expect to be training a video model with over 100,000 GB200s, and to begin that training within the next 3 or 4 weeks. So we're confident it's going to be pretty spectacular in video generation and video understanding. So let's see. So that's anything you guys want to say? Other than that, I guess that's it.
Yeah, it's a good model, sir.
Good model.
It's a good, yeah.
Well, we're very excited for you guys to try Grock 4.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Is that it? All right, let's see if there's any other little claps. All right. God, I was live for a second. Hey, welcome back, everybody. I'm going off of like.
I got in trouble for talking. I got scolded for talking during it.
3 hours of sleep, so I'm a little pooped. But let me go ahead and hide this comment. So, all right, so we're gonna go ahead and do a full summary and recap. I'll be bouncing some questions off Spencer that I have written down here. I'm sure Spencer has some insights and some tidbits. So
I got some questions for you too.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do a full summary, a full recap of everything we just learned. Okay, so I'll go ahead and introduce myself again for those of you who don't know me, and then Spencer, Starter Pack, you can introduce yourself, and then let's just start from the top. Sound good?
Yep.
Cool. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to another video. We just wrapped up the Grock 4 presentation. In this video, we're going to go ahead and dive into a full summary. I have Spencer here from Startup Hack. Yes, this is my father, but he knows everything when it comes to tech, entrepreneurship, AI. You know it in the tech industry, and he's got it. So I have a ton of questions for him. We just watched the Elon Musk live stream live. We're going to go ahead and do a full summary, and he's going to go ahead and give his insights, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to him.
Awesome. Yep. So Startup Pack here. We love training software developers as well as build custom software solutions. So one of the first things that Elon talked about is the ability for Grock 4 to reason at superhuman levels. We talked about some of this as we were waiting for the beginning of the live. this is encyclopedic knowledge, and the encyclopedic knowledge is just growing. It's growing exponentially. There's no doubt. So when you hear people talk a lot about AI growing at exponential rates, this is the part that is growing at exponential rates. But then he went right back in and said, and this is a quote, "At times it may lack common sense." That's the trouble, right? Is you get these brilliant flashes of this, and Grok obviously is off the charts. He's saying it's PhD level, 100 times more training. There is literally only the Mag 7 that can possibly compete with this, and even they have not been able to get their hands on the hardware that Elon has that he's used for Grok 4 here. 200,000 H100s. Like, that alone costs more than most countries' GDPs. Just the cost of the hardware for training this. So 100x more training is crazy. And he was talking about how intelligent it is. And there's absolutely no doubt that this will be PhD level intelligence. But that comes back to the lack of common sense. And yes, I laugh every time Elon gives an estimate. I think he's great. I think he's super optimistic. And I love that actually about him, that he's so optimistic. But I think somebody just said in the comments here too, it's FSD all over again. Kind of a little bit like, I don't take any of those timelines with any real reality. What was your thoughts on those, okay?
Yeah, I just did a quick, I used Claude actually to estimate how much I think they have 200,000 H100s, right? That's $8 billion of high-end H100s. So they're pouring a ton of money into this. What really stood out to me was I didn't realize how tight this timeline was. Grok 2 was only a concept about 12 months ago. So we've seen how fast AI can progress. It's going to be interesting to see if we can continue on this trajectory of like a hockey stick, or if it's going to start to S-curve out a little bit. But we can talk about that more. They talked a lot about the academic questions. What are your thoughts when using benchmarks with academic questions? Is that useful? Is that a good benchmark to use against other AIs? What are your thoughts?
So the benchmarks for being able to measure the AIs is really like the standard. It's the industry standard. So I'm going to get into hot water here really quick on my opinion of this. Without a doubt, they are trained on these benchmarks. Without a doubt, they've proved it. I've actually done videos on it to show proof of it. The AI knows when it's being tested versus when it's not being tested, which shows that it's been trained on the test data. So I take the benchmarks with a grain of salt. I do think Grok is probably beating everybody at the benchmarks simply because those 200,000 H100s you talked about, that is the training. So they have been trained on literally every stitch of possible data that is known in humanity right now, because they have the largest, without question, they have the largest set of training facilities and data that anybody else has. So do I doubt that Grok is off as probably the highest PhD level? I think we were right on. And I kind of said that going in, but that wasn't going to be a surprise to me.
Got it. Elon, they continue to talk about how they're running out of test questions. What does this mean, running out of test questions?
It's exactly that. They're out of data. They've run out of literally physical human questions that we can even ask anymore. So they're getting into theory-based things because they simply don't have any more actual physical-based things. And this is the next part that I was actually going to get into. So Elon talked about a very accurate physics simulator. I'm really excited for this. I think this is where we will see AI really excel, is when you get into real physics simulators, we can start to talk about mapping human genomes. We can talk about doing medical testing against it. Like, these are things that I actually really am excited to see happen, because they can run 10 million simulations against something that would have taken humans decades before to have possibly done. And now they could do those in minutes or hours. And so I think this very accurate physics simulator that he's talking about is really interesting. I think we could see advances in science and in medicine and a lot of the research type of things. And so I'm really excited by that, and I'm glad to see. And of course, Elon has a vested interest in that. Look at what it's going to do for Tesla. Look at what it'll do for SpaceX. Look at what it will do for Neuralink. Look at every one of his companies will benefit from Grok 4.
Totally. Yeah, I think he was talking about using it at the crash test and how reliable it is for crash test data. So, I mean, you're starting to see some of the good use case, huge chunks of data that it's going to be life-saving. I mean, if we can make cars even safer, that's just a net benefit for humanity. So you're starting to really see how this AI, it's really good at analyzing data. And I think you've mentioned that a lot, is that some of the most some of the best use cases I've found for using AI in the real world. We have some people in the chat here saying like, how can this help me in real life? This is processing bigger data faster. And that's kind of how I've interpreted it as a user. That's not, I'm somewhat technical, but I still use it kind of probably like every other layman, just wanting to get chunks of data understood. So that was really fascinating when they were talking about the types of data that they were using. So what does this mean for the competition? What did you see from Grok 4 that was like, okay, OpenAI, Claude, you better watch out, you better close up shop soon? Is this anything that the competitors should be afraid of, or is this something that they're not that far apart?
Absolutely. I think they should absolutely be afraid of it. Part of the reason why is just simply, and I said this in the pre as well, but there is nobody who can spend on the training costs as much as Elon. At the end of the video, he joked about the vending machine thing and said that it's $4.7 billion per year just to run the electricity on it. Okay, I want you to think about that. Think about that moat for a minute to any other competitor. So if you're Cursor and you raised $1 billion and you think you're doing, or you raised $6 billion and you think you're doing really good because you generate $1 billion of revenue, and Elon's spending $4.7 billion just on his electric bill, that's a moat, right? That's a moat.
Something that I just thought about that one of the comments kind of made me think about this is he's going to be able to simulate his flights to Mars before he actually ever has to launch a rocket. So he gets to save all those rocket launches at SpaceX. I'm sure they have some simulation software, whatever, but not at this level. So you can start to see how simulations, because when I'm running like a model, it's like, okay, how fast can I reach point A to point B and give it a set of data? That's why I really like to use AI for is simulations. I really like that. So what are your, so then after they talked about a little bit of the test comparisons, the benchmarks, they went into the voice. And I know you kind of have a strong opinion about the voice mode of AI. What do you think about that?
So before we jump into the voice, he touched on one of the things that's in the middle there, and he talked about instilling values. And one of our commenters asked us about that, right? Tristan asked about the safety around AI. And he even said, look, we're only, we're going to instill values. The only way you can instill values around LLMs is with system prompts. And basically what that is it acts as guardrails that says, hey, LLM, don't go outside of this box. And the thing about it is, just like we saw last night with Grok, which I'm guessing they were testing a lot of the system prompts, it can go past it. Now, I'm not one of the tinfoil hat guys that would be like, oh my gosh, it's going to melt down the grid. But that depends on how much power we give it, right? So that instilling values part, and he talked for a little while too about kind of how it could be kind of terrifying, but he's not really terrified about it, but he might be kind of terrified. That instilling values is a real thing. And there's like OpenAI just lost their safety chief, their C-level safety person, a lot of other people. I don't actually think the XAI team has one, which I think is an interesting stance. So I think Elon kind of is, which is an interesting stance. So just before we jumped into that, I want to talk about that, because then Elon even said the tool is super rudimentary, and that's another quote.
It's a good point.
And so I think it's fascinating that he's talking about this PhD level calculation ability, the ability to run, like you talked about, running a simulation of the rocket to Mars, and the ability to run that 10 million times in a couple days, right? Like that wasn't even something that was computational possible a year ago, right? So in that way, we are hitting these, quadratic runs to AI. But on the flip side, Elon himself is like, the tool is still super rudimentary. And that's what I think is really fascinating, is this brilliant stupidity, right, that we see with AI. So that's where he's talking about, will it be good or bad for humanity? So when we get into the voice, I think the voice is actually great. I think it's fun to talk to. They talk a lot about the voice prompts. I'm really glad to see that the prompt, because that would happen with me all the time. I was actually trying to show an old lady how to use the voice prompt thing, and she kept interrupting it. So like she couldn't figure out how to talk to it correctly. So I do think that actually will be a real thing if you're going to get people outside of the nerd community to start using it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's great for going on a walk, running an idea past somebody in a non-judgmental way, but also kind of scared because some people treat it as a journal and maybe have business secrets in there. So what are some advice you have when it comes to AI safety? Because I don't know if we can trust these companies. So do you like delete your logs? Does it matter if you delete your logs, or if you're using AI, you're kind of consenting to whatever you put in there is gone?
Yep. I tell people that all the time. I see companies all the time who are pumping customer data into these APIs, and they're like, oh, but it's safe. No, it's not. Like you are breaching HIPAA. We're starting to see these lawsuits start to come out. More and more are going to come out. There was a study that was done recently that showed that 80% of corporate users are putting customer data into AI daily. Like, terrifying. CISOs right now, I talked to 2 different CISOs that I know who are chief security officers who are saying all they are doing around AI right now is locking it down. They're doing everything to be able to like lock it down inside of their networks. And yet they still can't lock down these things that lock in. And so you just have to know that when you're going to do that, speaking hypotheticals, also be aware that like, if you're talking about like some major health concern, I know sometimes I'll be using AI and then I'm using it on my channel. So I don't want to jump in and have it repeat back something that I'm talking about, a health concern or something in the middle of a live stream. And you can't control what the AI is going to remember or not. So getting it to purge the logs or forget, you don't know what it's doing or not.
Got it. So after thank you for the safety stuff, by the way. I think it's really important that people are safe with AI. Now, this isn't a safety class, but I think it's important. So they introduced the new Grok model. They said it's 2 times, the latency is 2 times better, or it's twice as fast, the latency is twice as good as the previous model. They did a test with OpenAI. They didn't name them specifically. Maybe they did call it ChatGPT. I don't know, but you could tell the latency was much better with Grok 4. So that's really cool. And it also has tonation. So you had it singing, and then he asked the voice mode to whisper to him, and it whispered. So the tonations is super cool. I'm sure we could think of 100 use cases for that. I think the voicing is really cool. Like that old lady you said, being able to help people maybe not lose their minds and be able to have their cognitive ability can be a huge thing, I think, to keep them sharp. Like, hey, give me 10 math problems a day. And then they walk through those math problems to stay sharp. I think we're going to see a ton of medical breakthroughs with this kind of stuff.
So I actually had just one of my tutors today. So we have a registered apprentice program where we actually hire people to come and learn software development. And this tutor was telling me how he's using, because with every one of our tutors, or registered apprentices, we actually give them a full Gemini Pro 2.5 account. And so he was telling me how he was using it along with the course that I've provided. And it was really fascinating. I actually learned a lot just from talking to one of my students today about how he's using AI to learn the material better. So basically everything he learns every day, he goes back and talks and repeats it back into Gemini, and then we'll have it correct him and stuff. And so he's actually using that just as a way to we learn in repetition, and he's using it for free. Costs nothing.
Yeah, that didn't exist. Cool. It'll be super cool at the time that you can, like those Yamaha pianos, that you can introduce an AI into a piano and have it teach you according to your weaknesses and not have to pay a teacher. Pretty cool. So the voice thing is cool, but let's I want to dive into the vending machine simulation. How valuable? So just to kind of, this is a full summary video. So there's this company is called, I think, called Vendo Labs or something along that. And
it's one of the benchmarks they use.
One of these benchmarks is simulating a small business. And one of the most basic businesses they could think of is a vending machine. So ordering supplies, pricing, contacting suppliers, is there enough demand, locations, things like that. And Grok 4 outperformed all other AI. Of course, you have to account for the bias and this is an XAI demo and things like that. But how much weight do you put into this specific benchmark, the Vendo Labs? Is this more like real world? What do you think about that?
I actually love the vending machine benchmark. It's actually one of my favorite ones because you can't cheat it. And that's part of the reason they're using that benchmark, is because they're using that to try to prove reasoning, right? So they're saying, can it logic when certain problems happen? So they'll throw mixes into it and be like, what happens if the suppliers of Mars bars runs out, right? Like, or doesn't return your call? What do you do? Right now, in the latest vending machine set of benchmarks, every one of the AIs grew hostile. They all grew hostile. Wow. Like they all went to like threatening people. And like, it was really interesting to see this. And so it was probably one of the scariest researches actually that I've seen. It all went to threatening people. So I'll be really curious. They didn't go into whether it went hostile or not. They said it scored the highest. I do like the vending machine one because I think it's it shows a lot of different reasoning, right? Like we talked about before. So I actually like the vending machine model. But again, even Musk joked about that, and that was when he was talking about the $4.7 billion per year. It was like, hey, we're gonna have to put out a lot of vending machines. And he was joking about that, but the point with that too is that it still fails.
Yeah.
So the vending machine test is how quick does it get to failure. So the fact that AI, which has the PhD level intelligence, can't run the simplest of businesses, a vending machine business, the vending machine metric is how fast does it fail, or how long does it take to fail.
Yeah. So that, I think it's really cool. Obviously, it outperformed those new ones, the latest and greatest AI. After the vending machines, I don't know if you have anything else you want to touch on in that section, or if you want to move on.
No, I mean, I made a note that it was pretty crazy. 1.6 million viewers at that point when they were talking about the vending machine stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people for this late at night.
Yeah, a lot of people stayed up for this. It's really cool. And we have, I think we have 439 people watching us. So first off, thank you guys for watching us. We really appreciate you guys hanging out late at night with us. If you guys like this stuff, consider leaving a like or a subscribe to Startup Hacker Eye. We really have enjoyed this like father-son duo. This is stuff we talk about later on the kitchen table. So consider subscribing, and maybe we can do some more of these. But let's keep going. We're going to wrap this up here. I'm going to kind of lump these next three into one conversation here. They dive into gaming, and Elon Musk says they're going to be able to make a 30-minute TV show by the end of the year and a movie next year. So and then like they're going to get into a video generation model. How serious is this kind of stuff? How much weight do we put in it? How much real world application? Like, when am I going to go to a movie and watch a movie by AI? What do you think?
So the video game one, I think, is really interesting. I think it's so the other ones will generate video games, but Grok seems to be the only one that's really doing any work around generating video games. I've had probably over 100 people from the gaming industry comment on my channel over the last 6 months, and every one of them says that AI is nowhere in the gaming industry, which I find really interesting given how much Grok continues to show their demos here. So I don't have a ton to weigh in that because I'm not really in the gaming industry. But we have a small gaming team that mostly is focusing on like Roblox stuff. And that team, I've tried to have them use it, and they said it almost never gets them anything useful. So I'll be curious, and I'm going to ask them to keep testing this. But then the other side of it's from the video. So I kind of have to laugh a little bit about the video part, because it kind of feels like where everyone goes. We remember Sora from OpenAI, right? Sora 2, and that was like, oh my gosh, Hollywood's going to be out of business. Everybody run for the hills. And it's like 2.5 years later, we still haven't seen anything, right? That was 2.5 years ago that OpenAI announced that. Then a few months ago, we saw, I just blanked on Google's, what was their video one they just released? They released just a few months ago.
Like VEO?
Yeah, VEO3.
Yeah.
So VEO3 released. Again, oh my gosh, Hollywood's gonna be out of business, run for the hills. And then everybody starts generating videos, and I saw somebody who did a write-up on it, and like every single person in every single video had like their hands would be like it can never get hands right. And so I kind of laugh a little bit. I chuckle personally when I heard Musk be like, yeah, we haven't started yet, but we're gonna start later this year, and of course we're gonna be perfect at it. And I'm like, okay, I love Musk's optimism, but like we haven't seen anything come to fruition yet. So like, let's not even talk about that. Let's talk about a 30-second commercial. Let's see them successfully make some 30-second commercials, and so far they haven't.
Yeah, I think the day that we see a full AI commercial in the Super Bowl will kind of be like our litmus test, like, because that's like the most expensive ad space money can buy. So as soon as somebody's putting an AI only or a heavily edited AI video in the Super Bowl, that's when I think we can check the box. Like, all right, this is where we're getting kind of serious. But
heavily edited AI video, I'm not really all that interested in. I'm interested in them doing it fully with the prompt, generate 30 seconds without edits.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Okay, fair enough. I would like to see how much that ad costs to make and how much money that then brought in, because you have the problem first, can you do it? And then the next problem is doing it worth the revenue you see on the back end? Did you sell, if Red Bull does it, how much did it cost to make that 30-second ad? And then how many Red Bulls did you sell? Was it worth it? So interesting. So what did you have any other questions or other takeaways as we wrap up this full summary of the Grok 4 thing? What else did you think in terms of maybe the business aspect, Twitter, XAI, Tesla? What are your thoughts?
Well, Michael brings up a really good point. First of all, I apologize for my audio. I didn't plan for this. McKay actually reached out to me and said, we should totally hit this tonight. You got to jump on this call with me. And I happen to have a webcam in I'm literally 2,000 miles from home. So it's like we're lucky we're on. So I appreciate McKay getting this, put this together tonight. So apologies that my audio isn't great. Yes, I normally have a much better sound setup at home. All right, other thoughts to it. So I was really happy to see that they're going to release the API at the same time. That to me is really good, and I like the way they said it, and I like Musk's take on that here, where he said, we want to see what people are building with the API. Now, there's a couple things about that statement, though. One, if you think they're not watching what you're doing with the API, and if you're building a product just using their API, you probably want to build a little more stealth, because they're absolutely watching. And he literally says that, right? And so I think that's one of the funny first things. I see a lot of, part of where we're seeing the bubble burst is the fact that we're seeing a lot of people who are just wrapping products around OpenAI's APIs and stuff like that, and then shipping a product. That's not software development. That's relying on a third party, right? So I'm really happy to see them launch the APIs at the same time. I think for the nerd crowd, that's going to be really big. Kind of going through some of my notes here that I took. And I think that's really kind of the big things that I had is, it's pretty much everything I expected. It's incremental improvements. I know he kept talking about 10x and 100x. I'm sure in some of those training systems they weren't, but as you notice, even in their own screens where they were showing the screenshots of the benchmarks and stuff, you notice that I thought I took some, I'm trying to look through my screenshots really quickly. You notice that the benchmark improvements, even in their own rigged benchmarks, were still only 5 to 10% better than Grok 3. So I laugh all the time. Oh, here it is. Can I share my screen really quick?
Yeah. Are you able to?
I think so. Yep.
Okay.
Share screen. So I kind of laugh here because we notice that as we look at these, right, from O3 to Gemini Pro to Claude 4, right, these aren't like 10x. So is the training 10x? Yes. Is the actual improvement 10x? No. And this is my whole point. We're seeing a point of diminishing return. Is Grok 4 better? Yes. Is the PhD reasoning levels better? Yes. But even in their own rigged benchmarks, they had to do 100x times more training. Like they kept bragging on 100x times more training, and yet all we're seeing is fractional improvements on the benchmarks. So 100x training to 3 or 4% on improvement on benchmarks, that shows where we're starting to hit a point of diminishing return. And so again, people think I point this stuff out and think, oh, you're just hating on AI. No, I think this is cool. I think there's good stuff here. But my point is we got to be realistic about this. This is not going to overtake humanity in the next 10 years. My daughter, McKay's sister, actually was IMing me because her husband's a software developer. She was literally IMing me in the middle being like, my husband's out of a job. No, he's not. Like these are marginal improvements, right?
Yeah, totally. No, I'm a huge fan. Is there anything in terms of companies, like who is there a big, I joke about it all the time. I watch this Grok demo. I'm like, you know who the biggest winner is Nvidia. So, yep. I mean, Nvidia, I think Nvidia is cranking, but is there any other companies or any other are there any other companies that you think we should be paying attention to? Any other AI announcements coming up that you think we should pay attention to? I know the OpenAI browser I thought was interesting.
So everybody's trying to make their own chips to take that market share away from Nvidia, right? No one's done it yet. So there's a lot of threats on the market. We see Amazon talking about making their own chips, right? And if they did, with their AWS hosting and everything, they could scale that very quickly. That would make Amazon a ton of money if they pull that off. Google's in the same boat. They're using their tensors that are very good at AI, right? The tensors have been shipping in the Pixel phones for a while. They're very good. The tensor chips are what's actually used in NVIDIA's chips, is the tensor chip. Google is actually the one who makes the tensor chip. And so so Google has their own. So we're seeing people try to take that market share away from NVIDIA. If they can, they will start to dethrone NVIDIA a little bit. But in general, anybody who's going to be making hardware for it, AI is not going away. Like when I say the bubble's bursting, AI is not going away. It's going to be here for a long time. We're going to see people niching down. Microsoft just recently released a report talking about these amazing medical breakthroughs they're doing with AI. Again, they're not trying to hit AGI. They're niching down and hitting those spots. So AI is not going away. So anybody who wants to build hardware around AI, huge. Software developers, learn how to use AI. I
Totally.
think as soon as we see with the repeal of 174 and with interest rates dropping, I think we're going to see a huge run on software developers over the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. Something interesting. I know a lot of Tesla enthusiasts were awaiting a Grok announcement being integrated into Tesla vehicles tonight. We didn't hear that. This wasn't necessarily a product announcement. I mean, it was a product announcement, but it is interesting they didn't announce Tesla. He did say that we do plan to combine Grok with Optimus. So you can start to see where that can get scary but cool. I still think we're quite a ways from humanoid, but I do think that a voice assistant in the car would be really good. I'm trying to see if there's any other comments here on Twitter that are kind of worth mentioning. But do you have any closing thoughts or anything?
Somebody said here in the comments, this is a very real thing. Energy will be the next problem. If you can get into producing energy, these data centers are hungry, and AI is not going away, and it's only getting hungrier. So coming up with ways, whether it be these mobile the mobile nuclear reactors to small nuclear reactors to a lot of this different stuff. A lot of money is going to be going into how do we feed these beasts. So I think that's another huge thing. No, ultimately my full takeaway is this is pretty much what I expected. 100x training, 4 to 5% improvements, right? Okay, 10% latency improvements. Even if you want to give it generous and say it was 10 times improvement, 100x training to 10x improvement, that's diminishing returns. We're hitting that point. And right now they have a huge moat because only the Mag 7 are the only ones who can compete in that space.
Yep. I definitely agree. I think that we're going to head into earnings season here soon. So we're going to have Tesla. Nvidia is still going to be a couple months out. I think we have the bank earnings either next week or the week after. So we're going to really start to see a lot of these Mag 7 companies. I'm really curious to hear what Meta is going to have to address on their earnings call, what they're spending all of this money on. Is it just because Zuck doesn't want to be last, or do you think he has a trick up his sleeve? I don't know. We're going to have to see. I know we talked a lot about that earlier in the live stream. But yeah, do you have any other closing thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I'm super glad. Thanks for putting this together. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a ton of fun.
Really late Eastern time.
Yeah. So again, my name, I go by Meet McKay on YouTube. You can call me McKay, whatever. I like to talk about business news, stocks, real estate. I like to I have a flying video on my channel. I just like to have a good time. I like to talk about business and stocks and learn as much as I can and where are some good opportunities to invest or not invest. Spencer, what do you talk about on your channel?
Starter Pack, we love train software developers and build custom software solutions for companies. So reach out if we can help your company get some software built out for you.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you guys watching. If you guys have any questions about tech or AI, Spencer, I believe he responds to almost every comment on his channel. So put it to the test. You keep him up late responding to comments. Anything about companies that you want me to take a look at, just leave a comment and I'll see what we can do to take a look. But yeah, if you guys enjoy this kind of like father-son business talk duo, leave a like, comment, subscribe, let us know, and we'd love to schedule some more of these. But if you guys don't have anything else, thank you so much for staying late with us, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.